Chapter 37:16. It wasn't just Huang Fang, everyone else thought so too. The heavenly acripoid tribe's palm blade was famous throughout the universe. Finally, the two palms collided. The result was similar to what everyone had expected. Crack! The sound of an arm breaking rang out, followed by a scream as a figure was sent flying. The only difference was that the person who was sent flying with a broken arm wasn't Lu Ming, but Huang Fang. Huang Fang fell heavily to the ground. One of his arms wasn't just broken, it had completely exploded. His eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. When his palms collided with Lu Ming's, he realized that Lu Ming's palms didn't seem to be made of flesh. They were hundreds of times harder than divine weapons. Everyone else was also dumbfounded, their eyes bulging in disbelief. Putting aside the toughness of his arms, Huang Fang's cultivation base was much higher than Lu Ming's. Huang Fang was a 6th-level divine lord, while Lu Ming was only a 4th-level divine lord. 2 levels higher, but he was defeated by someone 2 levels lower. Attack! Kill him! Kill him for me! Acripoid Fang roared hysterically. You're courting death. Kill! The 4 middle-aged burly men shouted angrily, charging toward Lu Ming with murderous intent. Lu Ming's face was gloomy. With a thought, a powerful force burst forth from every cell in his body. He then charged toward the 4 burly middle-aged men. Both sides used palm blades at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 blows. Continuous explosions rang out. Then both sides separated. The difference was that Lu Ming didn't move from his spot, while the 4 middle-aged men were sent flying. They retreated a few hundred steps before regaining their footing. Their bodies trembled as they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their arms were trembling non-stop and bleeding. They were completely deformed. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone stared at Lu Ming as if they had seen a ghost. It was as if they were looking at a monster. A 4th-level divine lord had injured 4 quasi-emperors in an instant. Moreover, they were quasi-emperors of the heavenly acripoid tribe. Was this a dream? This is unbelievable. Zhang Lebang also widened his eyes and stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. Brother Zhang, goodbye. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left. He did not kill Huang Fang and the rest. After all, there were so many people watching. If he killed Huang Fang, the heavenly acripoid tribe might seek revenge. It was not easy to gain a new identity. He did not want to be hunted down all over the world. Lu Ming left, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Damn it! Huang Fang glared in the direction Lu Ming had left, his eyes filled with hatred. Lu Ming didn't stay on planet Shangchuan. He tore through the air and left planet Shangchuan. He came to a barren planet and began his seclusion. He had to first master the 150 secret techniques in his possession. Lu Ming was familiar with the process. He cultivated one secret skill after another. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. In these 3 years, Lu Ming had cultivated all 150 secret techniques, fusing them into every cell in his body. There was no doubt that Lu Ming's combat ability had increased. These ordinary secret techniques are limited in power. I wonder how profound the 3,000 ancient secret techniques are. Lu Ming muttered in anticipation. The 3,000 ancient secret techniques were different from ordinary secret techniques. They were profound and unfathomable, and their power was boundless. When cultivated to the peak, they were no weaker than an origin source technique with 9 severed shackles. However, until now, Lu Ming had not encountered any of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. He had not seen their power. Now, Lu Ming had already fused 340 secret techniques. After cultivating the secret techniques, Lu Ming took out a divine herb and began to refine it. Lu Ming had stored some energy before, and he felt that it had reached 30%. However, during this time, Lu Ming had used up a lot of energy, so he continued to store it. The divine herb Lu Ming took out was an emperor-grade divine herb. Its medicinal energy was astonishing. After another 2 years, Lu Ming felt that the energy stored in his cells had reached 50%. The potential was astonishing, and it was just waiting for him to excavate it. Of course, this 50% was relative to Lu Ming's current level. When Lu Ming's cultivation level increased in the future, he would need more energy if he wanted to store 50% of his energy. At this time, Lu Ming's heart shook, and a message appeared in the dream god Jade. It was a message from Zhang Lebang. Why would Zhang Lebang send me a message at this time? Lu Ming pondered. Zhang Lebang's message was not very specific. He only said that there was an opportunity and he wanted to invite Lu Ming along. Lu Ming thought for a moment and decided to go take a look. Now, Lu Ming's combat power had increased, and he had stored a large amount of energy that needed to be excavated. If he wanted to excavate it quickly, taking a risk was the best way. Taking a risk could not only excavate his potential, but also obtain opportunities. It was killing two birds with one stone. Lu Ming set off for planet Shangchuan. Planet Shangchuan was not far from the barren planet that Lu Ming was on. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at planet Shangchuan and met Zhang Lebang. Brother Zhang, what is this opportunity you mentioned? Asked Lu Ming. It's related to the ruins of the Sky Leap Divine Nation, said Zhang Lebang. Sky Leap Divine Nation. Lu Ming was puzzled. He had never heard of it. Zhang Lebang explained, the Heavenly Transcendence Divine Nation was a huge divine nation in this star field a few dozen stellar years ago. It was extremely powerful and was not weaker than the races on the Great Desolate 10,000 Races list. However, overnight, the Heavenly Transcendence Divine Nation collapsed and was destroyed, disappearing from the world. A powerful force comparable to the primitive 10,000 Races role disappeared overnight? How could that have happened? Lu Ming was a bit shocked. Which of the races on the primitive 10,000 Races role didn't have inheritances for countless years? They had a deep foundation and were incomparably powerful. How could it be so easy to destroy them? But they were destroyed overnight. That was shocking. I don't know. No one knows what happened, but someone speculated. At this point, Zhang Lebang stopped. Speculated what? Asked Lu Ming. I can't say. Brother Mu, you can figure it out yourself. As he spoke, Zhang Lebang pointed at the sky. Heavenly Palace. Two words appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Now, I found out through a secret channel that the ruins of the Sky Leap Divine Nation are about to appear. Someone has found the entrance to the ruins. If it's true, there should be a lot of treasures left inside. This is an opportunity. Zhang Lebang's eyes shone with a fiery light. The treasures left behind by a race comparable to the primitive 10,000 Races role would definitely be shocking. Okay, I'll go with you. Lu Ming nodded and agreed. Okay, we'll set off in half a month. Not only us, but also 3 other forces. Because the entrance was discovered by us, said Zhang Lebang. Lu Ming nodded and found a place to stay. Half a month later, they set off for the entrance of the Sky Leap Divine Nation. Chapter 37:17. The ruins of the Heavenly Eclipse Divine Nation were located in a special galaxy. This galaxy was shrouded in dense clouds. This galaxy was called the Cloud Mist Galaxy. Lu Ming, Zhang Lebang, and a group of experts that Zhang Lebang had brought with him appeared outside the Cloud Mist Galaxy. Apart from them, there were also people from 3 other factions. Each side had a large number of people, numbering in the hundreds. So many experts. Lu Ming sensed a little and discovered that among the 4 forces, most of them were quasi-emperors. A large number of quasi-emperors. The rest were mostly 9th-level divine monarchs. After entering the bustling starry sky, the Taishu dynasty couldn't compare to them. The Taishu dynasty was only a pseudo-universal level faction. They couldn't even be considered a true universal level faction. Compared to the bustling starry sky, the difference was too great. Among the powerful races in the starry sky, quasi-emperors were just cannon fodder. Only true divine emperors were considered experts. However, Lu Ming didn't sense the aura of any divine emperors. Of course, perhaps the divine emperors were too strong for Lu Ming to sense. After all, Zhang Lebang didn't say that divine emperors couldn't enter the ruins of the Heavenly Eclipse Divine Nation. So Lu Ming didn't dare to be careless. Let's go in, Zhang Lebang said to the other 3 factions. Soon after, the 4 factions gathered and entered the Cloud Mist Galaxy. Someone took out a map and followed it. After half a day, they found a huge stone door floating in the air. The stone door looked very old and was filled with the marks of time. However, it hadn't decayed. This is the place. This stone door is the entrance to the ruins of the Heavenly Eclipse Divine Nation. A middle-aged man in luxurious clothes said. Let's begin, Zhang Lebang said. Soon after, the 4 factions sent out some experts. These were all formation experts. They surrounded the stone door and began to inscribe formation runes. One rune after another entered the stone door. Not long after, runes appeared on the stone door and slithered around like little snakes. Bas! Suddenly, the stone door trembled slightly and emitted a dazzling light. The stone door slowly opened, revealing a pitch-black passage. "Let's go!" Immediately, one of the factions took the lead and rushed in. "Brother Lu, let's go!" Zhang Lebang shouted and rushed in with his men. Lu Ming followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, the people from the four major forces disappeared into the tunnel. Lu Ming felt a slight rotation in the void. The next moment, he realized that he was already high up in the sky. A strong gravitational force came, causing his body to fall. His heart skipped a beat, and his muscles trembled slightly. He stabilized his body and floated in mid-air. Sweeping his gaze around, he discovered that Zhang Lebang and the others were all floating in the air, sizing them up. Lu Ming also looked down. Below them were strange buildings. These buildings were oval-shaped, with sharp tops that pierced the sky. As far as the eye could see, there were such buildings everywhere. However, many buildings had collapsed. Some had even collapsed or been split in half. Sword marks and saber marks could be clearly seen on the vast earth. Clearly, a great battle had taken place here some time ago. The heavenly transcendence divine nation was destroyed in a single night. It seems like there was an intense battle there, but outsiders don't know about it. Someone sighed. However, some people had already rushed down to the buildings below. The others were worried that others would be the first to rush down, so they also rushed down. This area was very vast. The people of the major forces had spread out to search for buildings and opportunities. Lu Ming also rushed to a building on the side. When he landed on the ground, he realized that these buildings were really huge. Each one was over 1,000 meters tall. Lu Ming entered a building and discovered that there were many statues on both sides of the building. There were a total of 18 statues. However, these statues were just ordinary statues. They didn't seem to have any value. Lu Ming didn't stop and went inside. It was very chaotic inside. There were also statues, but they had already collapsed. It was a mess. Clearly, there had been an intense battle. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense, but didn't find anything valuable. "There's something down there." At this time, a voice sounded. It was Xueqi. Xueqi wasn't by the side of the past, but by the side of the present to adventure together. Xueqi flew out. A few pairs of claws appeared on its round body and scratched out. The rocks on the ground were pushed aside by Xueqi, and then an iron rod was revealed. To be precise, it was half an iron rod. The other half had already disappeared. Xueqi jumped up excitedly, opened its mouth, and swallowed half of the iron rod in one gulp. "This is a treasure." Lu Ming was curious. "Treasure, it's a treasure," Xueqi cried out. Lu Ming also revealed a look of joy, hoping that Xueqi's cultivation could improve greatly. During this period of time on the dragon race's mother planet, Lu Ming killed a large number of enemies and obtained countless divine weapons. Most of these divine weapons entered Xueqi's stomach. Xueqi's cultivation also advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the peak of the 5th-level Divine Lord realm. It wasn't far from the 6th-level Divine Lord realm. There weren't many things that could be called treasures by Xueqi. After Xueqi ate it, its cultivation would most likely improve greatly, and it might even evolve a corresponding attack method. After Xueqi ate it, it turned back into a bracelet and wore it on Lu Ming's hand. The bracelet that Xueqi turned into was very common, and there were plenty of them on the streets. He wasn't afraid that others would recognize him based on this. After searching for a while, he didn't find anything and continued to move on to other buildings. Next, Lu Ming searched several buildings, but didn't find much. He did find a few damaged weapons, but they weren't called treasures by Xueqi. They could only be said to be ordinary. "Let's go up and take a look," Lu Ming pondered. Because he had previously discovered that some buildings were built on top of a peak in front of him. Perhaps there would be a big discovery at the center of these buildings. Lu Ming left the buildings and flew towards that peak. Clearly, many people had the same idea as him. They didn't find anything in these buildings, so they all flew towards those buildings on the peak. However, everyone stopped at the foot of the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, there was a tall stone pagoda standing there. The stone pagoda looked very shabby, but it emitted a grand and lofty aura. Many people's eyes flickered, wondering if there was a treasure in this stone pagoda. "Look, there's blood on the stone pagoda." Suddenly, someone shouted. Everyone looked carefully and their hearts shook. Sure enough, there was blood on the stone pagoda. Moreover, it looked like fresh blood, bright red, and even slowly flowing. It looked like it had just been splashed. Moreover, this fresh blood also emitted a terrifying aura. Could it be that this stone pagoda is suppressing something? Someone guessed. Should we move the stone pagoda and take a look? Someone suggested. But the others looked at each other in dismay. This stone pagoda looked very strange. If they moved it and something strange happened, wouldn't they be asking for trouble? Chapter 37:18. Everyone was a little uncertain. If there were treasures in the tower, wouldn't it be a pity if they didn't move it? But if there was something strange, wouldn't it be dangerous? At this time, Lu Ming noticed something strange. When he stared at the blood on the tower, it seemed to emit a dazzling red light. Then, the red light spread, and the world in Lu Ming's eyes became blood red. Then, the world suddenly changed. The location was still the same, but the people had changed. Zhang Lebang and the others had disappeared, and countless others had appeared. Kill! Battle cries shook the heavens. Many experts flew out from various buildings and soared into the air, charging towards the sky. Violent rumbles came from the sky. "Disloyal people, all of you should die." A cold voice came from the sky. Lu Ming looked toward the sky and saw the clouds churning in the sky. He could vaguely see a few huge figures. They weren't humans, and they were covered by the clouds. He couldn't see their specific appearances. He could vaguely see an existence that looked like a crocodile, and its body was as big as a small mountain. There was also a giant octopus with 8 tentacles that waved around, bringing with them bolts of lightning. As soon as the voice finished speaking, attacks fell from the sky. The lightning bolts were as thick as mountains, and there were also axes chopping down. Immediately, the world was filled with miserable screams. Lightning filled the sky and axes filled the sky. Those figures that had soared into the sky were directly turned to ashes by the terrifying attacks. Large numbers of experts were killed. The scene was incomparably tragic. Lightning sea destroys the world. A cold voice came from the sky. Boundless thunder and lightning formed a sea of thunderstorms that pressed down on the ground. Amidst the thunderstorm, there was also a terrifying axe radiance. The sea of lightning enveloped all the buildings, and countless figures exploded and turned to ashes. Disloyal people? If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. The heavenly palace is tyrannical. Sooner or later, it will be destroyed. A sorrowful and indignant voice came from one of the buildings on the peak. An old man appeared. This old man looked very old. His hair was almost falling out, and his face was full of wrinkles. Grief and indignation appeared on his face. He roared and soared into the sky, his body emitting a resplendent golden light. "Those who defy the heavenly palace will be killed without mercy." A cold voice came from the clouds. Then, Lu Ming saw the figure that looked like a giant crocodile brandishing a battle axe and slashing down violently. A shocking axe light slashed towards the old man. Boom! The old man and the axe collided, causing a dazzling golden light to erupt. Then the golden light collapsed, and the old man's body fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "Today, the Tianyu divine country shall be destroyed." A cold and aloof voice spread throughout the world. "Even if I die, I will drag you all down with me." The old man let out a long howl. His entire body was bathed in blood as he once again soared into the sky. However, this time, a stone pagoda appeared in his hand. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. This stone pagoda was exactly the same as the stone pagoda that they had seen previously. Boom! The old man rushed into the clouds with the stone tower in his hand. At this moment, the scene around him changed again. Everything disappeared, and he returned to his previous state. Zhang Lebang and the others were still around him. "Brother Zhang, did you see something strange just now?" asked Lu Ming. "No." Zhang Lebang shook his head and curiously asked, "Could it be that Brother Lu noticed something strange?" Lu Ming looked at the others and didn't see anything strange. It was as if he was the only one who had seen that scene. "When I was staring at his blood, I suddenly noticed that the environment had changed." Immediately, Lu Ming recounted the situation that he had seen earlier. There was nothing to hide, so Lu Ming's voice was very loud. Many people heard it. Many people were shocked when they heard it. Could it be that what you saw was a projection of the battle back then? Is this really related to the heavenly palace? Could it be that it was the Heaven Sentinel? Many people's expressions were grave. Heaven Sentinel? Lu Ming was curious. He knew that the heavenly palace had the Heaven Sentinel sword that could suppress the heavens. It was a treasure of the heavenly palace and possessed terrifying power. Back then, the Yale Lord of Heaven had used the Heaven Sentinel sword to break through the defense of the 10,000 dragon seals. But this was the first time Lu Ming had heard of the Heaven Sentinel. However, Jiang Libang and the others seemed to be afraid and didn't say anything. The so-called Heaven Sentinel is just the Heavenly Palace's executioners. Bone Devil's voice sounded in his knowledge sea. On the surface, the Heavenly Palace has heavenly soldiers in charge of suppressing the various races of the universe and maintaining the prestige of the Heavenly Palace. But in the dark, they have cultivated a group of Heaven Sentinels. The so-called Heaven Sentinel is just a group of executioners who are secretly responsible for getting rid of those forces or individuals who have disloyalty to the Heavenly Palace. Since ancient times, who knows how many forces or individuals have been secretly killed by the Heaven Sentinel. Clearly, this sky-past divine nation was also the same and was destroyed by the Heaven Sentinel. Bone Devil sneered. So that's how it is. Lu Ming finally understood what he had seen. That huge crocodile and that octopus-like creature were the Heaven Sentinels. And for some unknown reason, the Heavenly Palace thought that the sky-past divine nation was disloyal and sent out Heaven Sentinels to destroy it overnight, causing it to disappear from a universe. It seems that the bottom of this stone tower is really extraordinary. Could there be a Heaven Sentinel suppressed under it? The blood on the stone tower. Could it be the Heaven Sentinel's blood? Let's not touch this stone tower. Everyone felt a lingering fear and finally decided not to touch this stone tower. Everyone circled around the stone tower and flew towards the peak. Lu Ming did the same. His speed was very fast and he arrived at the peak in the blink of an eye and entered a huge palace. Lu Ming saw from the previous scene that this palace was the palace where the old man lived. There were only a few broken statues in the palace. Lu Ming directly walked past them and entered the palace. In the depths of the palace, there was a room with some shelves. On the shelves, there were some jade talismans. Lu Ming picked up a jade talisman and saw that it was a secret technique. These jade talismans, could they all be secret techniques? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. There were at least 100 jade talismans here. Lu Ming waved his hand and collected them all. Other than the jade talismans, Lu Ming also found a bracelet. The bracelet was made of stone beads, and there were a total of 12 of them. It felt warm to the touch, like jade, but it was incomparably heavy. Lu Ming grabbed it and felt like he was grabbing 12 mountains. Treasure! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was clearly extraordinary. Swish! At this time, a dozen figures charged in. They were experts from another of the 4 superpowers called the Qianli sect. The Qianli sect's experts immediately revealed greedy expressions when they saw the bracelet in Lu Ming's hand. Brat! Hand over the bracelet in your hand. Also, hand over everything you obtained just now. A middle-aged man with a sword on his back stared at Lu Ming with a fiery gaze. Chapter 37:19. The burly middle-aged man with a combat sword on his back, and a dozen other people were glaring at Lu Ming. Not only did they want Lu Ming's bracelet, but they also wanted Lu Ming's interspatial ring. There were quite a few shelves here, so they didn't believe there was only one bracelet. The 4 factions all came here first. First come, first served. I came here first, so the things here are naturally mine. Lu Ming said. First come, first served. Haha, don't you know the principle of first come first? The middle-aged man with a sword on his back sneered. Of course I know that. Since that's the case, this treasure should belong to me. Lu Ming smiled and put the bracelet into his interspatial ring. Brat, you're courting death. The eyes of the middle-aged man with a sword on his back flashed with cold killing intent. In his view, Lu Ming was playing with him. Lu Ming meant that Lu Ming had become stronger. He was a quasi-emperor, while Lu Ming was a mere 4th-level divine lord. He was stronger than him. If this wasn't playing with him, then what was? Brat, I gave you a chance, but you didn't want it. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The middle-aged burly man with a combat sword on his back shouted coldly. He used his fingers as a sword and pierced toward Lu Ming. A sharp ray of sword chi stabbed at Lu Ming. A casual attack from a quasi-emperor sword cultivator was extremely powerful. The other people from the Qianli sect relaxed. In their view, Lu Ming was dead for sure. If a quasi-emperor wanted to kill a 4th-level divine monarch, there would only be one outcome for this person, and that was death. There would not be a second outcome. In an instant, the sword Qi arrived in front of Lu Ming. The middle-aged burly man with a combat sword on his back revealed a sinister smile. It was as if he could see Lu Ming revealing a regretful expression and then being killed. Unfortunately, he didn't see any regret or panic on Lu Ming's face. Lu Ming's expression hadn't changed at all. Tranquil and indifferent. Just as the sword Qi was about to hit Lu Ming's forehead, Lu Ming stretched out 2 fingers and pinched the sword Qi. A poof! The sword Qi was like a useless wisp of air, directly dispersing without causing any harm to Lu Ming. The other members of the Qianli sect opened their mouths in shock. Obviously, this scene was completely different from what they had imagined. This brat can block senior apprentice brother Lu's attack? How is that possible? I guess he was just lucky. Also, senior brother Lu didn't use much strength in that casual attack. Definitely. These people nodded repeatedly, as if they had found a reason to convince themselves. For them to believe that a 4th-level divine lord could block a quasi-emperor's attack, it was impossible. They didn't want to believe it. Otherwise, wouldn't it mean that they were useless? However, the middle-aged man with a battle sword on his back was not so relaxed. His face turned serious. Only he knew that he had used 30% of his strength just now. 30% of a quasi-emperor's strength. Let alone a 4th-level divine lord. Even an 8th-level divine lord would be dead. Even a 9th-level divine lord had to be treated with caution. But Lu Ming had casually blocked it. This was not normal. Brat, you have some strength, but your fate today is already decided. The middle-aged man with a sword on his back said coldly as he drew his sword from his back. Lu Ming blocking his attack didn't make him retreat. Instead, it stimulated his killing intent. If he retreated today, how could he raise his head in front of his junior apprentice brothers? Buzz! The battle sword vibrated, and a terrifying aura erupted. Kill! The middle-aged burly man shouted. Holding the sword with both hands, he dashed out and slashed toward Lu Ming. Sword Qi whistled, enveloping Lu Ming's body. If you don't seek death, you won't die. Lu Ming shook his head. He had already shown mercy, wanting the other party to retreat. But since the other party wanted to die, he could only fulfill his wish. Boom! Lu Ming directly punched out. The void shook violently, and the space exploded directly. The horrifying fist force was like a tsunami, and it crushed toward the middle-aged man. Bang! The other party's sword energy directly scattered. The fist landed on the middle-aged man's sword, causing it to shatter like glass. The fist didn't stop and continued to land on the middle-aged man's body. No! The middle-aged burly man let out a horrified and regretful scream. Then, his body turned into ashes under the force of Lu Ming's fist. The remaining people of the Qianli sect were completely stunned. A 4th-level divine lord killed a quasi-emperor with a single punch. What was going on? Were they seeing things? Or were they dreaming? If it was real, how was it possible? A divine lord. This is a divine lord. He's deliberately pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger to trick us. They couldn't help but have a thought in their minds. Run, run. One of them roared and frantically retreated. The remaining people also reacted and wanted to flee. However, Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. Since he had already attacked, Lu Ming wouldn't let these people off. According to his experience, he had already killed the middle-aged man and offended the Qianli sect. If he let these people leave, the Qianli sect wouldn't let this matter rest. Instead, they would take revenge by sending even stronger experts. Lu Ming had experienced this kind of thing too many times. In order to reduce one potential enemy, these people had to be eliminated. These people weren't good people. If Lu Ming wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't hesitate to kill him. Kill! Lu Ming's cold voice sounded and he launched an attack. With Lu Ming's current strength, these people wouldn't even be able to escape. In less than a minute, the Qianli sect's experts had all died. Lu Ming silently left. Boom! Just at this moment, a terrifying explosion rang out. Heaven and earth trembled. Roar! Then a tyrannical roar rang out. It was like a demon that had been suppressed for countless years was about to come out. What's going on? Lu Ming was startled. He soared into the sky and looked into the distance. The others did the same. They all flew into the sky and looked in the direction of the roar. It's that stone tower. Damn it, someone touched that stone tower. Someone roared. As expected, there were many more people at the stone tower. There were at least 1,000 of them. The Sky Locust race, the Frost Moon Vine race. Lu Ming's gaze moved. Among these people, he immediately saw the figures of the Sky Locust race and the Frost Moon Vine race. The Locust Fong he had met at the trade fair was always there. Chapter 37:20. The stone pagoda was moved away by a burly man from the Heavenly Locust tribe. Under the original stone tower, a dazzling light was emitted. ZZ bolts of lightning shot out from the bottom of the stone tower. Roar! Another terrifying roar came out, shaking the heaven and earth violently. Not good. There's an expert suppressed under the stone tower. Quickly release him. Hurry! At this moment, people from the Heavenly Locust tribe, the Frost Moonvine tribe and a few other forces shouted in shock. The burly man from the Heavenly Locust tribe wanted to put the stone pagoda back, but it was too late. Thunderous roars filled the sky. From the place where the stone pagoda had been suppressing, a few tentacles stretched out. They looked like tentacles of an octopus. Each tentacle was extremely huge, reaching over 100 meters long and covered in lightning. The tentacles swept across, and huge thunderbolts burst out. Many people were enveloped by the lightning. They didn't even have time to scream before their bodies were reduced to ashes. In the blink of an eye, dozens of people were killed. Regardless of whether it was 8th level Divine Lord, 9th level Divine Lord, or Divine Sovereign, it was all the same. Instant kill. Retreat. Quickly retreat. Huang Fong and Yu Chong retreated hastily under the protection of numerous experts. The burly man from the Heavenly Acrypoid race who had moved the stone pagoda hurriedly threw it down and retreated. Disloyal people, kill! A cold and tyrannical roar was heard. Then, a gigantic octopus appeared. The octopus floated in the air and waved its 8 tentacles. Lightning filled the sky as it charged toward the crowd. Some of the lightning bolts even charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Damn it! Why are the Heavenly Locust race and the Frozen Moon Vine race here? On Lu Ming's side, some people roared and fled in all directions. If we can find the entrance to Tianyu God Country, others can naturally find it as well. Let's go! Everyone fled in all directions to avoid the lightning attacks. However, one of them was struck by lightning and turned into ashes. Flesh, I need flesh. The octopus seemed to have woken up from a dream. It finally understood the situation. Greed and desire shone in its eyes as it charged toward the Heavenly Locust tribe and the Icy Moon Vine tribe. His speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with them. Bastard, you're courting death. An angry roar came from the Heavenly Acrypoid tribe. Then, an elder from the Heavenly Acrypoid tribe shot up into the sky and runes appeared all over his body. As the runes scattered, a terrifying aura burst out from them. God King, this is definitely the aura of a God King. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. A divine emperor from the Heavenly Acrypoid race had come in, but he had concealed his chi with a talisman. These divine emperors seemed to be afraid of something, which was why they had sealed their cultivation with a sealing technique. If the Heavenly Acrypoid race was like this, the other forces would probably do the same. Swish! The God Emperor of the Heavenly Acrypoid race transformed into his true form, a giant locust, and rushed toward the octopus. The sharp claws of the Heavenly Acrypoid tribe were like divine blades as they slashed at the octopus, colliding with the thunderbolts of the octopus. There was a huge explosion in the area that destroyed the heavens and the earth. After a few moves, the Heavenly Acrypoid race expert retreated. However, he was blocked by the Heavenly Acrypoid race expert. Everyone, if we don't act now, when are we going to? This octopus has been suppressed for many years. It doesn't have much strength left. Let's kill it together, otherwise, we'll all be killed. The Heavenly Acrypoid race's divine emperor roared. Kill! The octopus roared. Its 8 tentacles were incomparably huge, extending and sweeping in all directions. The suckers on the octopus's tentacles released a terrifying suction force. Many people screamed in fear as they were sucked into the suckers. Then, they disappeared into the suckers. Not even their bones were left behind. Attack! Let's kill this octopus together. A few angry roars sounded. A figure rushed out from the direction of the icy moon vine race. This person's body was covered with many talismans, which were also sealing talismans, sealing his own chi. Boom! The sealing talismans dispersed and a divine emperor's chi burst out. At the same time, several other forces, such as the Qianli sect and Zhonglebang's forces, also had divine emperors break out of their seals, releasing their chi. A total of 7 divine emperors rushed toward the octopus. Boom! Boom! Dazzling divine light burst out, and powerful waves of chi swept across half the sky, creating a terrifying explosion. A battle between divine emperors was incomparably terrifying. Others didn't dare to get close, so they all retreated far away. Lu Ming was extremely fast. In a few flashes, he had distanced himself from the octopus. These are divine emperors? I'm not their match. Lu Ming's expression was grave. Although he could easily kill quasi-emperors, the difference between quasi-emperors and divine emperors was too great. No matter how strong he was, he still wasn't a match for divine emperors, even if they were the lowest level of divine emperors. Only divine emperors could participate in this battle. Those below divine emperors had all retreated far away. Lu Ming also quickly flew away, leaving this place. In any case, he had pretty much explored this place. Lu Ming had obtained some secret techniques, as well as a bracelet whose effects he didn't know. It had been worth it. A moment later, Lu Ming was already far away from that place. Lu Ming could no longer feel the fluctuations of the battle there. Lu Ming continued flying forward. Soon, he arrived at a primitive forest. The forest was extremely dense. Ancient trees stretched as far as the sky. Lu Ming stood in the air, watching from a distance. He saw the shadow of a huge building in the forest. If there was a building, then there might be an opportunity. Lu Ming carefully flew into the forest. He didn't see anything strange along the way. There were only flourishing plants in this forest. There were no animals. Lu Ming quickly arrived at the center of the forest. There really were a large number of buildings here, but they had all collapsed. Many of them were completely deformed. They had clearly experienced an intense battle and exploded. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He saw an incomparably huge skeleton. Its flesh had already rotted, leaving behind only a skeleton. Its bones were sparkling and translucent, more exquisite than the most exquisite jade. He couldn't see what kind of race it was. It looked like a tiger, but it also looked like a lion. But there was a single horn on its head that pointed straight to the sky. It was incomparably sharp, even sharper than a divine sword. But what attracted Lu Ming's attention was each of its joints. In every joint of the skeleton, there were round pearls as white as jade. Bone bead. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was a special race. Under special conditions, the corpse would condense bone beads after it died. It gathered a large amount of the life essence of this creature when it was alive. It was a top-grade treasure in the universe. He didn't expect that this creature would actually form bone beads. Even from a distance, Lu Ming could feel the vast life energy in the bone beads. Although Lu Ming had a lot of divine herbs on him, which would be enough for a short period of time, it was naturally better to have more of such treasures. As Lu Ming's cultivation improved, his energy consumption would become more and more astonishing. The divine herbs on hand were simply not enough. Chapter 37:21. Lu Ming didn't immediately collect the bone bead. Instead, he sent out his spiritual sense to investigate the surrounding area. Spiritual sense came from the soul. Now that Lu Ming's soul was spread to every cell in his body, his spiritual sense was also coming from every cell in his body. It was very calm. There was nothing strange, and there were no living creatures. Lu Ming didn't sense any danger. Lu Ming was relieved. With a flash of his body, he headed toward the skeleton. When Lu Ming approached the skeleton, he suddenly felt a sense of danger. Every cell in his body trembled slightly. There's danger. Retreat. Lu Ming's figure retreated rapidly. At this moment, the shadow cast by the skeleton suddenly moved. A shadow stretched out like a javelin, stabbing toward Lu Ming at a shocking speed. Block. Lu Ming sent out a punch. But that shadow was not only fast, but it was also unpredictable. When it approached Lu Ming's fist, it twisted and went around Lu Ming's fist, stabbing toward Lu Ming's chest. Not good. Lu Ming cried out inwardly. In an instant, his body released a dazzling light. This was a defensive secret art he had fused into his cells. Over 50 kinds of defensive secret arts erupted at once. However, these defensive secret arts were unable to block the shadow's attack. They were directly pierced through. With a pft sound, a bloody hole appeared in Lu Ming's chest. Lu Ming's body flew backward, crashing into and breaking a few trees with a diameter of more than 10 meters. What a powerful attack! It even included a spiritual attack. Lu Ming felt a burning pain in his chest. His expression was grave. His secret art didn't have much of an effect on that shadow's attack. The reason was because it contained a powerful spiritual attack. It had directly pierced through his secret art's defenses. His chest had been completely pierced through. There was a bloody hole in his chest, and so was his heart. However, although Lu Ming's body was similar to an ordinary person's, he no longer had any vital points. There was no difference between the major organs, the brain, and the ordinary muscles of the hands and feet. The potential in his cells erupted, and his wounds healed rapidly. As for the soul attack, his soul had already been dispersed to every cell in his body. The places that had been attacked just now had indeed suffered heavy damage. However, his soul had been split into 60 trillion parts, so these attacks were harmless. The soul power in the other cells was constantly replenished to the places that were attacked, and the souls in the places that were attacked were rapidly recovering. In an instant, Lu Ming's wound healed. What kind of attack or creature is this? Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the shadow under the white bones. Previously, Lu Ming thought that this was the shadow cast by White Bone, but now it seemed that it was not that simple. Or rather, there was some strange creature hiding under the shadow of the white bones. Lu Ming looked at it carefully and was still unwilling to leave. The life energy of that kind of bone pearl was too abundant. Its value was definitely above Emperor-grade divine medicine. It was extremely rare and hard to come by. I need to get it as quickly as possible. Lu Ming revealed a resolute look. Then, his body shook and he dashed out, pouncing on Bai Gu. The instant he charged, all the speed secret arts he had fused with his cells erupted. This caused Lu Ming's speed to explode. He was like a bolt of lightning as he charged at White Bone. However, just as Lu Ming approached White Bone, the shadow below began to rapidly wriggle. Then 5 or 6 black shadows shot at Lu Ming. Each one of them was like a javelin, but their speed was shocking. Dodge Lu Ming's heart shook, and he quickly changed his position to dodge the javelin attacks. However, the shadow suddenly began to rapidly expand. It spread along the ground and rapidly grew, enveloping everything within 100 miles. Then countless javelins appeared from all directions and stabbed at Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed. He knew that he had underestimated his opponent. He had underestimated this shadow. This shadow's power was beyond his imagination. From all directions, there were at least hundreds of shadow javelins stabbing towards him, densely covering every direction. Even if Lu Ming wanted to dodge, he couldn't. He could only break. Break! Lu Ming roared. His body began to emit a resplendent light, making him look like a sun. His fists constantly punched out, and one fist energy after another exploded in a certain direction. At the same time, he also used many offensive secret arts. Divine Dragon Aspect Art, 9 dragons roar the ice chain, 9 chains like long snakes dancing in the air. 9 Chi sword art unhindered, all kinds of attacks attacked those shadow javelins together. This space exploded, releasing intense rumbling sounds. Under this incomparably powerful power, the shadow javelin's spiritual attacks were somewhat affected. Some of them were distorted, and some of them were slowed down. But it was still difficult to block them all. These shadow attacks were still stubbornly advancing. Blood splattered everywhere. More than 10 wounds appeared on Lu Ming's body instantly. It was hideous and terrifying. Lu Ming circulated all his strength to recover. Then he took a step and soared into the sky. But it was already too late. At this moment, that shadow was like a sphere, completely enveloping everything within 100 miles. Whoosh! Shadow javelins appeared above his head, stabbing at Lu Ming. Lu Ming resisted with all his strength, but he was still hit, and a few more wounds appeared on his body. I can't continue like this. I have to charge out. Otherwise, even if I have a taboo body, I'll be exhausted to death by this monster. Lu Ming's thoughts rapidly turned. Although his recovery speed was extremely fast, he could still recover no matter how heavy his injuries were. But he needed time, and he needed energy.
Although he had stored up a large amount of energy before, and he felt that he had around 50% of it left, his energy consumption was extremely shocking.
At this moment, he felt that his energy was rapidly being consumed. So he couldn't be trapped here. He had to charge out. Charge. Lu Ming clenched his teeth. Staring in one direction, he quickly charged out. At the same time, his fists were constantly punching out. All kinds of secret arts were constantly unleashed. But his body didn't stop. The result of this was that he was constantly being hit. More and more wounds appeared on his body. His entire body was dyed red with blood. But he didn't care. He continued charging. He wasn't an ordinary person. If an ordinary person suffered such a heavy injury, their combat power would be greatly reduced, and they would be in danger. But he wouldn't. As long as he could charge out, no matter how heavy his injuries were, they could be healed. Finally, Lu Ming reached the edge of the shadow barrier. In front of him, he was blocked by a black shadow barrier. Boom! Lu Ming continuously punched out. Several of his fists landed on the shadow barrier, but it didn't budge. Chapter 37:22. His berserk attack landed on the shadow light curtain. The shadow light curtain didn't budge. It had no effect. Lu Ming paled. His attack was actually unable to break through the shadow light curtain. At this time, the shadow light curtain counterattacked. Javelins appeared on the light curtain and shot towards Lu Ming. Many wounds immediately appeared on Lu Ming's body, penetrating from front to back. Lu Ming coughed up blood, but his gaze was still resolute. He hadn't lost hope. Taboo energy! Lu Ming shouted. His cells began to tremble. Strands of taboo energy began to spread. This time, the taboo energy didn't hide within his body. Instead, it appeared. A layer of transparent energy covered Lu Ming's fist. Boom! Lu Ming once more punched the shadow light curtain. A shocking scene appeared. Lu Ming's fist directly pierced through the shadow light curtain. A miserable scream came from the shadow light curtain, and then it began to rapidly squirm. Boom! Lu Ming threw out a few more punches and screams could be heard again. The shadow screen wriggled even more violently before shrinking rapidly. Naturally, the encirclement around Lu Ming was broken. I really didn't expect the taboo energy to be able to restrain this shadow. I have to go. Lu Ming didn't dare to stop in the slightest. He crazily charged forward. In the blink of an eye, he was 100 miles away. But when he turned back, his pupils shrank. That shadow shrunk and actually turned into a pitch-black creature. This life form looked like a tiger, but it wasn't. It had a single horn on its head, and it was extremely similar to the skeleton's body. Could it be that this shadow evolved from the skeleton's body after it died? A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind and he continued to dash forward. That one-horned shadow beast only icily looked at Lu Ming. It didn't chase after him. After a while, its body began to fade, and it merged back into the skeleton's shadow. Lu Ming continued to run. As he ran, his injuries healed at an extremely fast rate. In just a few minutes, the wounds on his body had disappeared. The internal wounds were also recovering quickly. My strength has increased again. I'm not far from 5th level Divine Lord. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He discovered that along with the recovery of his injuries, his cultivation was also rising rapidly. He was already close to peak 4th level Divine Lord. This was because he had gone through an intense battle. After being injured, his cells had repaired themselves and released the potential within. The more I get beaten up, the stronger I become. Then wouldn't I become a masochist in the future? Lu Ming was speechless. The cultivation method of this taboo power was really strange. Of course, if he just stood there and let the other party attack him, it wouldn't be of much use. Only in a truly intense battle, a battle of life and death, could one's potential be truly stimulated. When Lu Ming rushed out of the forest, his injuries were basically healed. It's that brat. Stop him. At this moment, a shout rang out. In front, a group of people were chasing after Lu Ming. The one leading them was actually Huang Fang. These people were from the heavenly acripoid race. There were at least 20 experts rushing towards Lu Ming. They were all quasi-emperors. How unlucky! Lu Ming was speechless. He had just rushed out of the forest when he encountered the heavenly acripoid race. Huang Fang's face was gloomy as he stared at Lu Ming with murderous intent. Huang Fang, I spared your life back then. If you don't know when to stop, you'll have to bear the consequences. Lu Ming said coldly. You'll have to bear the consequences. How dare you threaten me? Who do you think you are? You're just a bug. Crush him. Huang Fong roared, his face contorted.
Lu Ming actually dared to mention that matter in front of him.
This was simply poking at his sore spot, making him go crazy. Kill. The 20 quasi-emperors transformed into their locusts. Their claws were like blades as they attacked Lu Ming. You're courting death. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. His killing intent was like a blade. He had gone around Huang Fong previously to avoid offending the heavenly acripoid race and being harassed by them. Originally, he had thought that with the vastness of the primitive universe, he would not cross paths with Huang Fong again. He also thought that the heavenly acripoid race would not go after him just because he had beaten up Huang Fong. But he did not expect to meet Huang Fong in the ruins of the heavenly eclipse divine kingdom. Moreover, Huang Fong looked like he wanted to kill him. Lu Ming decided not to hold back anymore. Swish, swish, swish. Lu Ming's palm was like a blade. He activated the offensive secret technique in his palm, causing Lu Ming's palm to become incomparably sharp. With a slash of his palm, the void split open. 2 quasi-emperors of the heavenly acripoid race were killed before they could even scream. Now, Lu Ming had integrated even more secret techniques into his body. His cultivation had also reached the peak of the 4th layer Divine Lord realm. His battle strength had increased. Killing quasi-emperors was like killing chickens for him. After killing the 2 quasi-emperors of the heavenly acripoid race, Lu Ming turned around and swept his palm. A blinding blade light shot out from his palm. 3 quasi-emperors of the heavenly acripoid race were cut in half at the waist. Destructive energy exploded from their bodies, destroying their souls. 5 quasi-emperors were killed in the first exchange. They could not even withstand a single blow. The other quasi-emperors felt a chill run down their spines. Their faces were pale and they did not dare to attack. They quickly retreated. However, since Lu Ming had already killed the experts of the heavenly acripoid race, he would not hold back. It was best to kill all of them. Kill! Lu Ming roared and chased after the quasi-emperors of the heavenly acripoid race. Bastard, how dare you! With a furious roar, a terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming felt as if he had been hit by a planet. His body shook violently and he could not help but retreat. Divine Emperors. Lu Ming's expression was extremely grave. An elder stepped out from beside Huang Fengli. A terrifying aura spread out from his body. It was as deep as the sea, unfathomable. Kill this bastard! Huang Fengli shouted. Boom! The elder's aura became even more terrifying. He took a step forward and charged at Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. I miscalculated. Lu Ming frowned. Previously, the heavenly acripoid race's divine emperor had fought against the octopus. Lu Ming had seen it before. It was not this person. Therefore, Lu Ming had been careless and did not retreat immediately. Clearly, there was more than one divine emperor from the heavenly acripoid race. Retreat! Without hesitation, Lu Ming retreated and dashed into the forest. You want to escape from my hands? Young man, you must be dreaming. The elder sneered and stepped forward. He stretched out a withered hand and grabbed downwards. Rumble! Heaven and earth shook violently. 9 saber lights appeared in the sky and slashed down on Lu Ming. Open! Lu Ming bellowed and unleashed all his power. The battle word incantation increased his combat power by 5 times to the maximum. Chapter 37-23. Lu Ming exerted all his strength. He activated the battle incantation, increasing his combat power by 5 times. He made dozens of moves consecutively. Dang dang dang! Lu Ming's attack hit the saber gleam in front of him. It was as if he had hit a metal saber and there was a loud explosion. Crack! Then, cracks appeared on the saber gleam. The cracks were densely packed. With Lu Ming's final blow, the saber gleam crumbled into pieces. Lu Ming's figure shot forward. This brat! The divine emperor's pupils shrank, revealing a look of disbelief. He never thought that a mere 4th-level divine lord could actually break one of his blade lights. This made killing intent flash explosively in his eyes. He was a dignified divine emperor, but his saber light had been broken by a 4th-level divine lord. What face did he have left? Die!
The elder of the Divine Emperor realm shouted coldly.
He was getting serious.
He pressed his palms and the remaining 8 saber gleams shone brightly.
Their power increased tremendously as they slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he had already covered a distance of thousands of miles.
However, the elder of the Divine Emperor realm was even faster.
His saber radiance covered tens of thousands of miles and shrouded Lu Ming in it. There was no way to escape. Break! Lu Ming roared, attacking with all his strength. He wanted to break the saber light that was slashing down on him. Boom! Intense rumbling sounds erupted, and powerful energy overflowed in all directions. The forest was torn apart, and ancient trees continuously exploded. In the end, Lu Ming managed to block the saber light. But this time, the saber light was even stronger than before. Although Lu Ming managed to block it, he was injured. Bloody scars appeared on his body. They were all caused by the saber light's energy. Blood flowed freely. The bones in his hand were cracked, and his bones were clearly visible. However, Lu Ming had only blocked 1 saber light. There were still 7 more above him. Divine emperors are truly powerful. Lu Ming's expression was grave. He definitely couldn't face them head-on. He was still far from being able to do so. Lu Ming activated all of his agility and speed secret techniques, raising his speed to the extreme. Swish! Swish! His figure flashed rapidly. It was as if there were figures all over the mountain. In the end, a few saber lights missed their target and slashed into the ground. A few 100,000 miles long cracks appeared on the ground and went deep into the ground. However, there were still a few saber lights that were not blocked. No matter how Lu Ming dodged, it seemed to lock onto him. In the end, Lu Ming was hit. His body flew out like a cannonball, breaking a large number of trees. Pain, burning pain. Lu Ming's body was almost split in half. It could be said that he had been split into 2 halves, no 3 halves. This was because his body had been completely split apart after being hit by the 2 blade auras. Only a small amount of muscle was left to hold his body together. All of the cells in his body were constantly surging with energy. Lu Ming's body quickly recovered. Those muscles were wriggling crazily like small snakes, connecting his body back together. In just a few breaths, Lu Ming's body had been reconnected. He ran madly towards the depths of the forest. He was no match for a divine emperor. It would be difficult for him to even escape. If he wanted to escape, he would need external help. Lu Ming thought of that skeleton, that shadow of a creature. What kind of monster is this? The people of the heavenly acripoid race saw this scene and their hearts beat violently. Lu Ming had been hit by a divine emperor consecutively. His body had been split apart. If it had been someone else, they would have been dead. However, Lu Ming was actually fine. His recovery ability was simply terrifying. It was ridiculously strong. In just a few breaths, he had recovered a lot from his serious injuries. Even the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man's heart beat violently. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Chase! The elder of the Divine Emperor Realm shouted coldly. He stepped out and chased after Lu Ming madly. Let's chase him together. Don't let him escape. Huang Fong roared and led the experts of the heavenly acripoid race to chase after Lu Ming. Lu Ming burst out with his maximum speed, rushing towards the skeleton with all his strength. While rushing, he also had to dodge the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man's attacks. On the way, Lu Ming was hit several times and was heavily injured. Fortunately, Lu Ming had a taboo body, so he managed to survive. I'm here. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He finally saw the skeleton. He did not hesitate to rush towards the skeleton. That's a bone pearl. The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man's eyes lit up. He did not hesitate to rush towards the skeleton. At the same time, he waved his hand and released a few terrifying blade lights towards Lu Ming. At this moment, the shadow under the skeleton wriggled violently and a dozen shadow javelins shot out. Most of them were aimed at the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man. Only a few of them were aimed at Lu Ming. This was because the elder at the Divine Emperor Realm was much more threatening than Lu Ming. Boom boom boom, the shadow javelins hit the blade lights and broke through them. They continued towards the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man. The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man's expression changed. He waved his hand madly and a terrifying attack broke out, blocking the shadow javelins. On the other hand, Lu Ming covered his fist with taboo strength and blocked the shadow javelins. Roar! The shadow under the skeleton roared furiously.
Then, the shadow wriggled violently and covered a radius of 100 li. Whoosh 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 whoosh. There were at least a few hundred shadow javelins in all directions, stabbing towards Lu Ming and the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man.
Of course, most of them were aimed at the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man. The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared furiously and tried his best to resist. The shadow javelins contained a soul attack. Even he had to be careful. As for Lu Ming, he charged forward with all his might. He opened up a path with the taboo force and rushed to the front of the shadow light curtain. He broke the shadow light curtain with one punch. With a flash, he dashed out of the light curtain and ran away.
Damn it!
The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared furiously and tried his best to resist the shadow javelins.
He rushed towards the direction where Lu Ming had escaped. However, when he reached the place where Lu Ming had been, the shadow light curtain had already healed.
Boom! The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man slashed the shadow light curtain with his blade. The shadow light curtain shook violently, but it did not break immediately. Break! Break! The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared. His divine strength soared to the sky and a vast blade light pierced through the sky. In the end, under the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man's torrential attacks, the shadow light curtain shrunk and turned into a black creature with a horn on its head. At first glance, one could tell that this creature was not real. Its body was slightly distorted. The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man looked around but did not see Lu Ming's figure.
Damn it!
The Divine Emperor Realm Old Man roared furiously, his face pale. Although he had managed to break through the shadow barrier, he had also suffered some injuries. His soul had been injured. Chapter 37-24. The Heavenly Acrypoid Race's Divine Emperor Realm Elder's face turned ugly. He had suffered a great loss this time. Not only did he fail to kill Lu Ming, but his soul was also injured. An injury to one's soul was very troublesome. Roar! The pitch-black single-horned creature roared and charged towards the Divine Emperor Realm Elder. Bastard! The Divine Emperor Realm Elder roared and fought with the creature with his saber. At this moment, Huang Fong and his men finally arrived. Where is that bastard? Huang Fong did not see Lu Ming's figure and roared. Then, he turned and saw the skeleton and the bone pearl. That's the bone pearl, such rich life energy, it's mine. Huang Fong revealed a greedy expression and charged towards the skeleton with his men. Don't come over, back off. The Heavenly Acrypoid Race's Divine Emperor Realm Elder shouted, but it was too late. Swoosh 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 on the ground. A shadow spear pierced towards the Heavenly Acrypoid Race. Puff 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 in an instant, more than 10 Heavenly Acrypoid Race experts were pierced, their souls destroyed and they died on the spot. If Huang Fong did not have someone protecting him, he would have died. Retreat! Retreat! Huang Fong roared and retreated frantically. The rest of the Heavenly Acrypoid Race also retreated frantically. At the same time, the Divine Emperor Realm Elder attacked with all his might, stopping the single-horned creature's attack and allowing Huang Fong and his men to escape. They did not dare to come close again. The Divine Emperor Realm Elder and the single-horned creature exchanged more than 10 moves. The Divine Emperor Realm Elder was at a disadvantage. His soul was injured and his face was pale. He was careless and was hit by a shadow spear. A bloody hole appeared in his body. The Divine Emperor Realm Elder roared and fought his way out of the encirclement, retreating unwillingly. The single-horned creature glanced coldly at Huang Fong and his men, but did not chase after them. Where is that bastard? Huang Fong asked. He was referring to Lu Ming. I was entangled by the shadow and that bastard took the chance to escape. Don't let me see him again. I will kill him. The Divine Emperor Realm Elder shouted coldly. He's lucky, Huang Fong said reluctantly. Then his gaze shifted as he said, we can't give up on those bone pearls. I've already sent out the news. Once the other experts arrive, we'll hunt down that shadow creature together. This time, there was more than one Divine Emperor from the Heavenly Acrypoid Race. The people from the Heavenly Acrypoid tribe came to the outskirts of the forest and waited. As for Lu Ming, he had already found a secluded place to cultivate and recover. Previously, he had been injured by the shadow and the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man. If it had been someone else, he would have died at least 10 times. However, he had managed to survive. All the muscles and bones in his body were wriggling at an astonishing speed, recovering. It did not take long for his body to be completely healed, and not the slightest wound could be seen on his body. The potential of each of his cells was stimulated. Lu Ming's body was filled with surging energy. This energy was then absorbed by the taboo force, strengthening the taboo force. Every single cell in his body was becoming tougher and stronger. When these cells gathered together, Lu Ming's body became even stronger. Boom! After the aura on Lu Ming's body reached a critical point, it suddenly soared and rushed to another height. Breakthrough! Lu Ming's cultivation base had broken through again, reaching the 5th layer of the Divine Lord realm. In such a short time, Lu Ming's cultivation base had broken through from the 3rd layer of the Divine Lord realm to the 5th layer of the Divine Lord realm. This speed was simply inconceivable. Of course, this was also in exchange for Lu Ming's injuries. However, the energy consumption is also shocking. I'm only left with a little more than 10%. Lu Ming felt the energy in his body and sighed. Previously, it was equivalent to 50%. This was in exchange for refining 2 Emperor-grade divine herbs. In just a short while, he had used up 30%. The Emperor-level divine medicine was very useful even for divine emperors. Its medicinal efficacy was extremely strong. However, Lu Ming had consumed more than 1 stalk of medicinal efficacy, yet he had only broken through 1 level of cultivation. It could be seen that Lu Ming needed a huge amount of energy to cultivate. It was even more than the energy he had used to cultivate the 11 types of divine power. But the harvest was also huge. After breaking through by 1 layer, Lu Ming's fighting strength would increase explosively. After a short time, Lu Ming's aura stabilized. With my current fighting strength, even the weakest 1st layer of the Divine Lord realm isn't enough. It's barely enough. Lu Ming pondered. That Divine Lord realm old man from before was probably only at the 1st layer of the Divine Lord realm, but his fighting strength was already terrifying. If it weren't for Lu Ming's tenacious vitality, he wouldn't have been able to escape. Even if he had broken through now, he still wasn't his opponent. I wonder what that bracelet does. Let's try it out. It's not bad if it can increase my fighting strength. Lu Ming thought of the bracelet he had obtained before. With a thought, the bracelet appeared in his hand. It was incomparably heavy. Lu Ming held it in his hand as if he was holding 12 mountains. Let's see if I can refine it. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The taboo power slowly flowed into the bracelet. Once it flowed into the bracelet, it encountered a strong resistance. It was the spiritual will left behind by the previous owner of the bracelet. But when that spiritual will came into contact with the forbidden strength, it was as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Forbidden strength is really easy to use. Lu Ming smiled. That bracelet had been preserved for such a long time, but it was still full of spirituality. It was definitely extraordinary. The previous owner of the bracelet must have been extremely strong. The spiritual will left behind by such an existence was definitely not weak. If he used ordinary divine power, it would be very difficult to destroy it. Even if he could, it would take a long time. But now, in just a short time, the spiritual will of the bracelet had been destroyed. After that, Lu Ming used his forbidden strength to leave a mark on the bracelet. Then he dripped a drop of blood on it. That way, the bracelet was completely under Lu Ming's control. Let's try it. Lu Ming activated the forbidden power and poured it into the bracelet. Buzz! The bracelet trembled slightly and released a dazzling light. Then one of the stone beads flew out and rapidly grew in size. Then a terrifying power came out of the stone bead. Boom! Down below, ancient trees exploded. Many stones also exploded. The ground kept sinking. In just a moment, a crater 100 miles wide and 100 meters deep appeared on the ground. Gravity. What powerful gravity! Lu Ming discovered that the energy coming from the stone bead was gravity. The incomparably powerful gravity directly pressed down on the ground. Continue! Lu Ming continued to use his forbidden strength. Then another stone bead flew out. Boom! The ground kept exploding and sinking. The gravity was 10 times stronger than before. Chapter 37:25. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He realized that when he used 2 stone pearls together, the gravitational force was 10 times stronger than when he used only 1 stone pearl. In that case, the power would be very terrifying. Lu Ming reckoned that even a quasi-emperor would not be able to withstand the pressure and would die. Even a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer would be greatly affected. 2 stone pearls are already so powerful. What about 3, 4, 5, 12? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He wanted to give it a try. He continued to use his forbidden energy into the stone pearls. But this time, the stone pearls didn't react at all. Little boy, you're too weak. You can't use more stone pearls. You can only use 2 at most. If you want to use more, you need to become stronger. Guemo reminded him. Lu Ming sighed. As expected, he couldn't rely on just one treasure to become invincible. Treasures needed cultivation to be used. Everything depended on one's own strength. However, Lu Ming was already satisfied that he could use 2 stone pearls. If they worked together, his strength would increase tremendously. Let's go and see how the heavenly acripoid race is doing. Lu Ming thought. The heavenly acripoid race and the shadow were fighting. Lu Ming was curious to see who would win. Maybe both sides would be injured. Lu Ming didn't mind attacking them sneakily. Lu Ming restrained his aura and headed in the direction of the skeleton. Lu Ming came to a spot not far away from the skeleton quietly. He found a hidden place to hide and then looked into the distance. It seems like the heavenly acripoid race has been defeated. Lu Ming took a look and gave a soft cry of surprise. The skeleton was still lying there. The bone pearls were still there. They hadn't been taken away. There were many corpses of locusts around. Each of them was a few meters long. It was obvious that the heavenly acripoid race had died here. The heavenly acripoid race had obviously been defeated. It's a pity that I didn't see the scene where both sides were injured. But I can't miss these bone pearls. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He still wanted to get those bone pearls. His taboo power was able to restrain the shadow creature. Now that he had the power of the stone pearls, he might be able to obtain those bone pearls if he planned well. Lu Ming started to ponder, wanting to find a way to obtain those bone pearls. Suddenly, his heart stirred, and his gaze looked into the distance. He felt that there were a large number of experts approaching. The heavenly locust race is here again. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Then, he retracted his aura to the extreme. Like a rock, he hid there and observed from afar. Indeed, not long after, a group of people appeared. They were from the heavenly locust tribe. Their leader was none other than Huang Fong. Others, don't get close. Those above the divine emperor realm, go and destroy that shadow. Huang Fong ordered. As soon as Huang Fong's voice fell, 2 figures leapt towards Bai Gu like lightning. Swish swish they waved their hands, and their divine power condensed into claws that grabbed at the bone pearls. One of them was the divine emperor realm old man from before, and the other was the divine emperor who had fought with the octopus earlier. The 2 divine emperors attacked at the same time. Roar! With a furious roar, the shadow under Bai Gu wriggled, turning into shadow javelins that pierced towards the 2 divine emperors. With a series of explosions, the attacks of the 2 divine emperors were blocked. Then, the shadow creature rapidly wriggled, enveloping an area of 100 li. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. The shadow creature couldn't match the 2 divine emperors. Not long after, the shadow creature's shroud was broken. The shadow wriggled and returned to its original form. It was a creature with a single horn on its head. Roar! The creature roared, its baleful aura soaring to the sky. Sharp blades shot out from its horn towards the 2 divine emperors. At the same time, it also attacked the 2 divine emperors. Die! The 2 divine emperors also attacked. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. The shadow creature was no match for the 2 divine emperors. It was at a disadvantage. However, the shadow creature's soul attack was terrifying. The 2 heavenly acripoid race god kings did not dare to be careless. They decided to play it safe and slowly suppress the shadow creature. When they reached a certain point, they would launch a fatal attack. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sides had exchanged dozens of blows. The shadow creature was completely at a disadvantage. It kept retreating. It seemed that the skeleton was about to leave the range of its protection. Roar! Suddenly, the shadow creature roared and pounced towards the divine emperor realm old man, ignoring its own defense. You're courting death. The divine emperor realm old man was not surprised, but delighted. He unleashed his full strength and slashed out with his saber. Boom! The saber slashed the shadow creature's body. A terrifying power exploded in an instant. The shadow creature's body was split into 2 and then exploded. However, before the old man could rejoice, the horn on the shadow creature's head shot out like a bolt of lightning and pierced the old man's chest. This attack was fast. Incomparably fast. It was so fast that the old man didn't have time to react. The horn pierced through his body. The divine emperor realm old man roared and retreated. His body had been pierced through and was dripping with blood.
Especially his soul. It had been severely injured.
His face was pale.
Damned beast!
The divine emperor realm old man roared. He didn't expect the shadow creature to attack him with such a heavy blow.
However, the next moment, his face turned even uglier.
That shadow creature had been shattered by his blade, but at this moment, it actually reformed and reappeared. The saber attack didn't kill the shadow creature. However, it was obvious that the shadow creature wasn't in a good condition either. Its chi had weakened a lot. That meant that the saber attack wasn't harmless. Roar! The shadow creature roared and pounced towards the divine emperor realm old man like a phantom. The divine emperor realm old man's injuries were more serious than the shadow creature. It wanted to seize the opportunity to kill the divine emperor realm old man. However, it was obviously impossible. The heavenly acripoid race had another divine emperor.
You're courting death.
The other divine emperor roared and blocked the shadow creature's attack.
Beast, you're courting death.
The divine emperor realm old man roared and used his remaining strength to attack the shadow creature. The two sides fought fiercely again. Although the divine emperor realm old man was injured, the shadow creature was also injured. Its strength had weakened a little. Therefore, it was still at a disadvantage and was completely suppressed. After more than 10 moves, the shadow creature was hit and its body exploded again. Its body kept twisting and turning. One could clearly see that its body had dimmed a lot. It's very weak now. Put in more effort and kill it. Huang Feng roared. Not long after, the shadow creature was hit again and its body became even dimmer. Although the two divine emperors of the heavenly acripoid race were also attacked by the shadow creature, their souls were also injured. The divine emperor realm old man's face became even paler. Chapter 37:26. Of the two divine emperors from the heavenly acripoid race, the elder looked even paler. He had suffered a heavy blow from the shadow creature. Not only was his soul injured, but his physical body was also severely injured.
The other divine emperor was in a much better state.
His soul was only slightly affected during the battle with the shadow creature. His face was pale. However, the shadow creature was in a worse state. Its aura was getting weaker and weaker. There was no such thing as an immortal body in the world. Even if it was a forbidden body, it would die when all its cells were destroyed. Although the shadow creature's body was miraculous, it was getting weaker with every blow. If this went on, it would definitely die. Let's attack together and get rid of this beast. Huang Feng shouted. The shadow creature was already very weak. Even the quasi-emperors were able to injure it. He called for all the quasi-emperors to attack together and get rid of it once and for all. If other forces, especially the Frost Moonvine race, were attracted, it would be difficult for him to devour the bone pearls. Kill! Kill! A large number of quasi-emperors from the heavenly acripoid tribe shouted and pounced on the shadow creature. All kinds of attacks rained down on the shadow creature like a storm, covering all directions and completely blocking its escape route. The two divine emperors also attacked with their strongest attacks. They had to kill the shadow creature with this attack. Roar! The shadow creature roared. Its body suddenly dispersed and turned into hundreds of shadow javelins. They shot in all directions and collided with the attacks from the heavenly acripoid race. However, it was much weaker now. The power of its attacks was also very average. When it collided with the attacks from the heavenly acripoid race, the shadow javelins were constantly destroyed. The attacks from the two divine emperors destroyed a large number of shadow javelins. In just a few breaths of time, most of the shadow javelins had been obliterated, and the shadow creature could no longer condense. It was finally done. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, at this moment, something strange happened. All of a sudden, the skeleton moved. To be more precise, it exploded. All the bones were like sharp blades. They pierced toward the heavenly acripoid race experts at an astonishing speed, bringing with them a terrifying whistling sound. Ah! Some of the quasi-emperors who were closer to it screamed in agony. Their bodies were pierced and they died on the spot. As for those further away, they were also hit with fatal attacks. As for the two god emperors, they received special attention. The most powerful bones and the white bone all flew towards the two god emperors. The people of the heavenly acripoid tribe had just destroyed the shadow creature and heaved a sigh of relief. They did not expect that Bai Gu, who had been perfectly normal, would launch a fatal attack. Thus, it was already too late for them to dodge. Puff puff, the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man was pierced by 2 sharp bones. He was sent flying tens of thousands of meters away, crashing into dozens of giant trees. He spat out blood and his body was badly damaged. Fortunately, the vitality of a Divine Emperor was extremely strong and he managed to survive. As for the other Divine Emperor, his body was pierced by the horn. The horn was the most powerful and nailed the deity emperor to the ground. Damn it! This deity emperor roared angrily, erupting with all of his strength. Finally, he pulled out the horn, saving his life. However, he was also seriously injured, his aura becoming sluggish. As for those quasi-emperors, as long as they were hit, none of them could keep their lives. All of them died. In an instant, more than 50 quasi-emperors had died on the spot. Damn it! Farther away, Huang Feng was stunned. Then he roared angrily, his face contorted. So many experts had died in an instant. It was a heavy loss. Fortunately, it was only the quasi-emperors who had attacked. He and the other heavenly acripoids were far enough away to avoid being attacked. Fortunately, after the first wave of attacks, the white bones fell to the ground and did not move at all. They also did not have any spirituality. As for the bone pearls, they also fell to the ground. Damned beast, it still wants to counterattack after dying. The God Emperor who had been pierced by the horn cursed. Clearly, the reason why the white bones had launched such a thunderous attack was because of the shadow creature. It knew that it would not be able to survive today. In the end, it was destroyed, so it launched a final counterattack. Using some unknown method, it controlled the white bones to launch a fatal attack and deal a heavy blow to the heavenly acripoids. Huang Feng was also cursing, but when he saw the bone pearls, his eyes lit up. Although they had lost many experts, for a large race like the heavenly acripoids, quasi-emperors were nothing. They had a bunch of them. Only god emperors were considered experts. Losing a few quasi-emperors was not a big deal. They could be quickly nurtured. These bone pearls are mine. Huang Feng rushed over and grabbed the bone pearls with his huge hands. With these bone pearls, his cultivation would soon break through to the 7th layer of the Divine Lord Realm. He could even reach the 8th or 9th layer of the Divine Lord Realm. At that time, his status among the younger generation of the heavenly acripoids would definitely rise. The other heavenly acripoids did not move. Huang Feng's status was much higher than theirs. These opportunities naturally belonged to him. Lu Ming, who was a distance away, witnessed the entire scene. The 2 god emperors are seriously injured. Especially the god emperor Realm Elder. His injuries are even worse. Lu Ming thought, his eyes brightening. In the end, Lu Ming decided to make a move. This was a rare opportunity. If he did not make a move, when would he? Lu Ming concealed his aura to the extreme and stealthily approached the God Emperor Realm Elder. The God Emperor Realm Elder was sent flying far away after being hit by 2 bone pearls. He had just pulled out 2 bone pearls and swallowed a few divine pills to heal himself. He did not notice that someone was approaching. Soon, Lu Ming was only 10,000 meters away from the God Emperor Realm Elder. 10,000 meters was no different from 1 centimeter to them. Swoosh! Lu Ming did not hesitate and rushed over. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the God Emperor Realm Elder. When he rushed out, Lu Ming had already activated the battle character art to increase his fighting strength by 5 times. Boom! 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 Lu Ming burst out with all his strength and punched out with both fists. In an instant, he punched out hundreds of times. His fist energy smashed through the air, causing the space to explode. Ah! The God Emperor Realm Elder sensed Lu Ming's attack the moment he saw it. He roared and unleashed his divine power to resist. The God Emperor Realm was indeed strong. His spiritual sense was sharp and his reaction speed was shocking. However, the God Emperor Realm Elder was severely injured. His strength was probably less than half of his usual strength. Lu Ming had just broken through to the 5th layer of the Divine Lord Realm. He was much stronger than when he fought with the God Emperor Realm Elder. At this moment, the Divine Emperor Realm Old Man couldn't withstand the surprise attack at all. Chapter 37-27. Bam! Bam! Their attacks collided. At the moment of collision, the Divine Emperor Elder's divine power was penetrated by Lu Ming. The Elder's palm blade collided with Lu Ming's fist. Crack!
The Divine Emperor Realm Elder's palm exploded, followed by his arm and body.
He screamed miserably.
When Lu Ming's violent attack completely crushed him, the Divine Emperor Realm Elder's body exploded completely. Even his soul did not manage to escape. His body and soul were destroyed. A Divine Emperor was killed in an instant. Of course, Lu Ming would not have been able to do it if the Elder was in his prime. However, the Elder was severely injured and Lu Ming seized the opportunity to kill him. All of this happened in an instant. The other Heavenly Acripoid tribe members did not even have time to react. When the Heavenly Acripoid tribe Elder was killed, the Heavenly Acripoid tribe members came to their senses and looked over. Then their eyes widened.
You are you!
Huang Feng shouted hysterically when he saw that the person who attacked was Lu Ming.
I will kill you today, Lu Ming said coldly.
With a wave of his hand, he kept the Divine Emperor Realm Elder's storage ring and strode towards Huang Feng.
You still want to kill me?
Attack, kill this brat!
Huang Feng shouted angrily.
He had another Divine Emperor on his side.
He was not afraid of Lu Ming.
In his opinion, the Elder at the Divine Emperor realm was killed because he was seriously injured and did not have much strength left.
Then, Lu Ming launched a sneak attack on him.
That was why he was killed. He was well aware of Lu Ming's strength. Previously, he was chased by the Divine Emperor Realm Elder and was forced to flee. There was another Divine Emperor beside him. Although he was also injured, his injuries were not as severe. He was more than enough to deal with Lu Ming.
Boom!
The Divine Emperor suppressed his injuries and a powerful aura burst out, pressing towards Lu Ming. At the same time, he stepped into the void and rushed toward Lu Ming like a saber. His palm was like a saber, slashing toward Lu Ming. A dazzling saber light slashed out violently towards Lu Ming's head. The void was directly split into two halves.
Come on!
Lu Ming's eyes revealed an intense fighting spirit. His bones crackled like beans being fried. His muscles bulged as he punched out. It was a head-on confrontation.
You're courting death.
A vicious glint flashed across Huang Feng's eyes. Lu Ming dared to confront the Shen Huang head-on. He was simply courting death.
Boom!
In the next moment, the attacks of the two collided, and a violent explosion erupted. A violent force swept out in all directions, causing the ground to explode continuously. Then, the two figures quickly retreated. At the same time, he retreated tens of thousands of meters. They were evenly matched.
How could this be?
Huang Feng and the rest of the Heavenly Acripoid tribe members stared wide-eyed at Huang Xiaolong. Lu Ming was able to contend with a Divine Emperor, and they were evenly matched. Although the Shen Huang was injured and his combat strength was greatly reduced, he was still a Shen Huang. In a head-on confrontation, he was blocked by a Shen Huang.
This brat has broken through.
Damn it, how did he break through so quickly? And his combat strength is so strong. Huang Feng roared in his heart. He was envious and jealous. The Shen Huang was also extremely shocked. His heart was in turmoil. However, the fighting spirit in Lu Ming's eyes grew stronger. A Shen Huang is indeed a Shen Huang. I used all my strength in the battle formula to increase my combat strength by 5 times. I barely managed to hold my ground. Moreover, he was injured. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He knew very well that if the Shen Huang was in his prime, he would definitely be no match for him.
But now, kill!
Lu Ming shouted and took the initiative to attack. In a flash, he crossed the distance of tens of thousands of meters and charged toward the Shen Huang. You're just a Shen Huang.
Die!
The Shen Huang roared and his saber light shone brightly.
Boom! Boom! Boom!
The two sides engaged in an intense battle. In an instant, they had exchanged more than 10 blows but there was no clear winner. This bastard! In the distance, Huang Feng was jealous, shocked, and frightened. He slowly moved back. Obviously, he was planning to run away as soon as he sensed that something was amiss. Lu Ming also saw this scene.
Trying to run away?
A cold glint flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. Then, while he was engaged in a fierce battle with the other party, he slowly turned his body around. When his body leaned towards Huang Feng's side, he exchanged a blow with the other party. With the help of this blow, he retreated rapidly in the direction of Huang Feng and the Heavenly Acripoid tribe. The reason why he hadn't used the string of stone beads was because he wanted to lower the God Emperor's guard. Secondly, if he killed the Shen Huang,
the rest of the heavenly acripoids would definitely flee in fear. When that happened, it would be difficult for him to chase after them one by one. His goal was to kill all of the heavenly locust tribe members. Therefore, Lu Ming turned his body and borrowed the Shenhuang's strength to attack the heavenly acripoids. Oh no! The Shenhuang's expression changed drastically. Huang Feng's expression also changed drastically. Stop him! Huang Feng roared and retreated rapidly. The rest of the heavenly acripoids were also shocked. They were conflicted whether to block Lu Ming or retreat. If they blocked Lu Ming, they would be courting death if they went up against Lu Ming. However, if they retreated and ignored Huang Feng, they would be severely punished when they returned. It would be worse than dying in battle. In this moment of hesitation, Lu Ming had already arrived. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand and launched a series of attacks. With Lu Ming's current strength, it was too easy for him to kill these quasi-emperors and divine sovereigns. Lu Ming charged forward and killed dozens of heavenly acripoids. Then, Lu Ming punched out continuously with both fists. In an instant, he had thrown out hundreds of punches. Hundreds of punches blasted out in all directions. The heavenly acripoids were unable to withstand a single blow. Every time he attacked, a heavenly acripoid would be killed. There were more than 100 heavenly acripoids left. In an instant, there were only a few left. No, help! Huang Feng was so scared that he almost wet himself. He screamed in horror. He was not killed because Lu Ming had deliberately spared him. He was so scared that he roared as he ran. Lu Ming chased after him coldly. Stop! The Shenhuang roared and chased after him, slashing out a shocking saber light. However, Lu Ming was not afraid. He exchanged a blow with the Shenhuang and borrowed his strength to increase his speed. In an instant, he had caught up to Huang Feng and the rest. With a swipe of his hand, the remaining heavenly acripoids were killed. Huang Feng was fine, but he was so scared that he was trembling all over. His face was pale and a foul smell wafted out. He had actually wet himself. What a piece of trash. I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming said coldly. He had wanted to kill Huang Feng last. After he killed the Shenhuang, he would let Huang Feng know the meaning of despair. However, Lu Ming lost interest when he saw Huang Feng in such a state. With a swipe of his hand, Huang Feng let out a roar of indignation as his body exploded. His body and soul were destroyed. Chapter 37:28. The heavenly acripoid race was left with only the Emperor God. The God Emperor stopped pursuing Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming coldly, his expression cold. Lad, you've killed so many people from the heavenly acripoid tribe. Just wait for the endless revenge of the heavenly acripoid tribe. Revenge? As long as I get rid of you, who will know that I killed them? Lu Ming asked with a smile. Ha ha ha, you still want to kill me? Although I am injured, do you think it is possible for you to kill me? If we continue fighting, you will be the one to die. The Emperor God said coldly, full of confidence. Although he was injured and his combat strength was not at its peak, he did not believe that Lu Ming could kill him. If they continued fighting, he would be the one to win. Is that so? Then let's fight. Lu Ming roared and pounced on the Emperor God. Kill! The divine emperor of the heavenly acripoid race roared and charged towards Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! The two of them clashed again and fought fiercely. This time, Lu Ming went crazy. He did not care about his own defense and attacked with all his might. Bam! Lu Ming was hit and a saber wound appeared on his body. His body was almost cut open. However, at the same time that Lu Ming was hit, the Emperor God was hit as well. Lu Ming landed a punch on the other party's shoulder. All kinds of secret skills erupted in his fist at the same time, forcefully tearing apart the other party's protective divine power and the body of a divine emperor. A large part of the other party's shoulder exploded. However, Lu Ming's injuries were recovering quickly. Again, Lu Ming roared and continued to attack the Emperor God. Not long after, Lu Ming was hit again. However, the Emperor God was hit as well. This was a lose-lose battle. This monster is really a monster. The Emperor God roared in his heart. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes. Lu Ming's recovery ability was too strong. If this continued, the Emperor God would be the first to die, not Lu Ming. He was already thinking of retreating. As a result, his fighting spirit weakened.
When enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous will win. In a battle of equal strength, the weaker one's fighting spirit, the weaker one's fighting strength. Now, Lu Ming was keenly aware of the change in the other party's heart. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. The taboo energy poured into the stone bead. Wang. Lu Ming waved his hand and the 2 stone pearls flew up into the sky. The pearls grew bigger and bigger as they pressed down on the heavenly Acripoid deity emperor. The terrifying gravity caused the heavenly Acripoid race divine emperor's body to fall rapidly and crash heavily onto the ground. Then, the 2 stone pearls smashed towards the heavenly Acripoid race's god emperor like 2 mountains. The heavenly Acripoid race's deity emperor roared and attacked the stone pearls with all his might. 2 of the stone pearls were sent flying away, but his palms were also cracked and blood flowed out. At the same time Xueqi attacked, Lu Ming had already charged towards his opponent. As soon as the stone pearls were pushed back, they were faced with Lu Ming's storm-like attacks. The heavenly Acripoid race's deity emperor had not recovered from the series of attacks from the stone pearls. Moreover, his body was suppressed by the powerful gravity and his strength was severely restricted. He could not fight back at all. Bam! Lu Ming's left hand was like a sharp blade that broke through his defense and chopped off one of his arms. Lu Ming's right hand clenched into a fist and punched through the heavenly Acripoid race's deity emperor's chest. His chest exploded and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The heavenly Acripoid race's deity emperor had been smashed into the huge pit. When the pit exploded, he was blasted into the ground, creating a huge crater. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood and his body was in tatters. His aura was extremely weak. I can't accept this. I am a deity emperor. How can I die in the hands of a divine sovereign junior? He roared as if he had gone mad. The remaining divine power burned fiercely and he transformed into his original form. He flapped his wings and tried to escape. However, the 2 stone pearls pressed down on him. The terrifying gravity caused him to fall to the ground. Bam! Lu Ming charged forward and stomped heavily on the heavenly Acripoid race's deity emperor's chest. His chest exploded and only his head was left. Little bastard! The heavenly Acripoid race's deity emperor was still shouting when Lu Ming punched him. The deity emperor's head exploded and his soul was destroyed. At this point, all the heavenly Acripoids had been killed. Lu Ming's body flashed and he kept all the interspatial rings. Then, he went to the white skeleton. The bone pearls were scattered on the ground. Lu Ming collected them one by one. There were a total of 18 bone pearls of different sizes. They were filled with rich life energy. Lu Ming was satisfied. With these gains, this trip was worth it. Lu Ming moved and left the place. After a series of battles, he was afraid that others would be alerted. It was better to leave as soon as possible. Not long after Lu Ming left, people from the 2 forces arrived. When they saw the locust corpses all over the ground, they looked at each other in dismay. In the end, they looked horrified and retreated hurriedly. They thought that there was a terrifying danger here. Otherwise, how could the heavenly Acripoid race be wiped out? Lu Ming found a secluded place and cultivated for a while. He adjusted his condition to the peak. He secretly sensed that the potential stored in his cells had decreased by a little. There was only about 10% left. As for his cultivation, it had also increased a little. The speed of energy consumption is too fast. Lu Ming sighed. He took out another divine herb and absorbed it. Lu Ming was too lazy to use monarch-level divine herbs. He kept them with him to trade with others. Lu Ming focused on absorbing emperor-level divine herbs. As his cultivation base increased, the potential stored in his cells required more energy. After refining 3 pieces of emperor-level divine medicine consecutively, Lu Ming increased the potential stored in his cells to 50%. In the past, I only needed 2 emperor-level divine herbs. Now I need 3. Sure enough, I don't have many emperor-level divine herbs left. Lu Ming thought. He only had 9 emperor-grade divine herbs left in his possession. Fortunately, he had obtained 18 bone pearls. The total energy of the 18 bone pearls was definitely above that of 9 emperor-level divine herbs. He could still use it for a while. With 50% stored, it was enough for the time being. With so much energy, even if he was beaten to a pulp, he could still recover. After finishing his cultivation, Lu Ming left the place. After checking the direction, Lu Ming headed west. Before entering the ruins of the heavenly Acripoid race, He had learned from Zhang Lebang that the greatest opportunity of the heavenly acripoid race was definitely in the capital of the heavenly acripoid race. The west direction was towards the depths of the heavenly acripoid race. The capital of the heavenly acripoid race should be in that direction. Lu Ming moved forward quickly. After an hour, he did not know how far he had traveled. Suddenly, boom, boom, boom. Violent explosions came from ahead. Divine light shone brightly, illuminating half the sky. There was an intense battle in front of him. Lu Ming restrained his aura and quickly approached along the ground. Chapter 37-29. There was a huge battle ahead. Lu Ming moved forward quietly. True enough, not long after, he saw a group of people fighting fiercely. On one side was Zhang Lebang and the experts he brought with him. On the other side, Lu Ming recognized the experts from the Qianli sect and the Earth Origin sect. These two forces were one of the four forces that had joined forces with Zhang Lebang. But now, these two forces had joined forces to deal with Zhang Lebang's group. Without a doubt, each force had sent a Divine Emperor realm expert. But unlike the Heavenly Locust race, these forces only had one Divine Emperor. Zhang Lebang had one, while the Qianli sect and the Earth Origin sect each had one. Zhang Lebang's group was at a disadvantage. Qianli sect, Earth Origin sect, you're despicable. Didn't we agree to be allies? Zhang Lebang roared. At this moment, he was in a sorry state. His hair was disheveled and his body was covered in blood. We're despicable? You're the despicable ones who wanted to take the treasure for yourselves. Hand over the Windfire Pearl now. A young man in a red robe shouted from the Qianli sect. Bullshit. The Windfire Pearl was ours to begin with. You're the ones who saw the treasure and wanted a share. You betrayed your allies. Zhang Lebang roared. Humph. Zhang Lebang, no matter what, everyone who saw the treasure has a share. You want Tun? No way. Hand it over and we'll split it equally. The Qianli sect's young man snorted. That's right. Split it equally. Otherwise, you, Zhang Lebang, won't be able to walk out of the heavenly eclipse divine nation. Another young man from the Earth Origin sect sneered. Don't even think about it. This treasure is mine to begin with. Zhang Lebang roared, his hair fluttering in the wind. In the distance, Lu Ming heard these words and roughly understood what was going on. It was obvious that Zhang Lebang and his people had obtained the Windfire Pearl and were discovered by the Qianli sect and the Earth Origin sect. They were greedy and betrayed their alliance to get a share of the loot. Should I take action? Lu Ming pondered. Zhang Lebang was a good person. Although he had the intention of borrowing Lu Ming's strength, it was indeed a rare opportunity for Lu Ming to tell him about the Tianyue divine nation. Lu Ming wondered if he should help Zhang Lebang. Of course, this was also because Lu Ming's battle prowess had greatly increased that he had such a thought. In the past, he would not have thought this way before his cultivation had made several breakthroughs. The Qianli sect and the Earth Origin sect had two divine emperors. In the past, even if he went out, he would only die. But now, Lu Ming had the confidence to confront the God King. At this moment, Zhang Lebang and his men were retreating in defeat. The godly emperor on his side was suppressed by the other two godly emperors. He could only fight back and had no power to fight back. It was the same for the battle below the divine emperor realm. It was completely one-sided and the situation was precarious. Whoosh! Lu Ming made up his mind. With a flash of his body, he dashed out like a phantom. As soon as Lu Ming rushed out, the people in the battle noticed Lu Ming. It's him. It's that kid. The people from the Qianli sect and the Earth Origin sect saw Lu Ming and recognized Lu Ming. They knew that Lu Ming was brought by Zhang Lebang, but they did not care at all. Why should they care about a young divine emperor? Zhang Lebang and the others also saw Lu Ming. Brother Lu, leave quickly. Zhang Lebang shouted. Lu Ming smiled. Zhang Lebang still asked him to leave at this time, which meant that he had made the right decision to help. Brother Zhang, let me lend you a hand. Lu Ming smiled. Brother Lu, leave quickly. Zhang Lebang shouted. Although Lu Ming was very strong and could easily deal with the four quasi-emperors of the heavenly acripoid race, the other party had one more divine emperor than them. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, he was only a divine emperor and not a high-level one. The difference between him and a divine emperor was too great. He did not think that Lu Ming could deal with a divine emperor.
The people that Jiang Lebang brought were also disappointed. Initially, he thought that some expert had come. He did not expect it to be Lu Ming. It was useless. No worries.
Lu Ming smiled and arrived at the battlefield in the blink of an eye.
Go and finish him.
The young man in the red robe of the Qianli sect said to a 9th-level divine emperor. In his opinion, it was a waste to send a 9th-level divine emperor to deal with Lu Ming.
Don't worry, young master. I only need one move to kill him.
That 9th-level divine lord old man received the order. His figure was like a streak of fire as he charged out, pouncing towards Lu Ming.
Kid, you're courting death. Don't blame me. Kill.
The old man sneered and waved his hand.
Flames filled the sky and spread towards Lu Ming. The temperature of the flames was frighteningly high. Such power, not to mention Lu Ming, who was a 5th-level divine emperor. Even a 7th-level or 8th-level divine emperor would be burned to death. However, Lu Ming was expressionless. He did not care about the temperature of the flames at all. Swish! Lu Ming activated a secret spear technique in his hand and a long spear appeared in his hand. He swung his hand and the long spear shot out like lightning. Everywhere it passed, the space was pierced and a pitch-black spear mark appeared. The long spear rushed into the flames and did not encounter any resistance. It broke through the flames and stabbed towards the 9th-level divine emperor. How is this possible? The 9th-level divine emperor opened his eyes wide in disbelief. He could not quite figure out how his move was broken so easily.
He had yet to react and the long spear already arrived, piercing through his glabella.
The 9th-level divine emperor was dead. The scene suddenly paused. The movements of the people in the great battle could not help turning stiff. Clearly, Lu Ming killing a 9th-level divine emperor with one move exceeded everyone's expectations. Only Jiang Lebang was a little better. Damn it! Go, quasi-emperors, take action and kill him. That youth from Qianli sect shouted. Want to kill me? I'll kill you first. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold and he directly rushed towards that youth from Qianli sect. Kid courting death. Kill. Inside Qianli sect, 2 quasi-emperor realm existences shouted and rushed towards Lu Ming, unleashing swift and fierce attacks. The ones dying are you guys. Lu Ming gave a cold cry. His palm was like a blade, chopping out. 2 streaks of blade light burst forth in succession, breaking apart the other party's attack. Puff puff. Blood splattered everywhere and the 2 quasi-emperors were also killed. This time, everyone's hearts trembled violently. Killing quasi-emperors was as easy as pie. What kind of combat strength was this? Lu Ming's figure rapidly approached the youth from Qianli sect. At this moment, the youth from Qianli sect's face turned extremely ugly, revealing a look of horror. His combat strength was not even comparable to a quasi-emperor. If Lu Ming got close to him, wouldn't he be dead? Save me! The youth from Qianli sect shouted. Kid, how dare you! With a loud roar, heaven and earth shook and a terrifying aura filled the air. It was the divine emperor from Qianli sect. Chapter 37:30. Shouted the Qianli sect's godly emperor. He then threw a punch at Lu Ming. He threw a punch and the terrifying fist force condensed into a flaming furnace. It was as huge as a mountain and crimson in color. It charged toward Lu Ming to suppress him. Under the pressure of the furnace, the atmosphere exploded. Everybody's expression changed drastically. Nobody dared get close. That was a godly emperor's attack. It was terrifying. If anyone below the godly emperor realm was hit by it, they would definitely die. Brother Lu, be careful, shouted Jiang Lebang. That little boy is going to die. He's a little bit strong but he dares act arrogantly in front of me. Dang! Shouted the young man from the Qianli sect. He looked ferocious. He was convinced that Lu Ming was going to die. He wasn't the only one who thought so. Everybody else thought the same. But what happened next was beyond everybody's expectations. Lu Ming threw a punch at the smelting furnace that the divine emperor had thrown out. Lu Ming was surprisingly going to resist the godly emperor's attack. He's overestimating himself. He's really overestimating himself. He's going to die. He's definitely going to die. There's no way he'll survive. He's a little bit strong but he's already so confident. Many people were thinking the same thing. They could already see Lu Ming's body exploding. Boom! In a flash, Lu Ming punched the furnace. The sky shook violently and a red light dashed to the sky. The entire sky was dyed red. That little boy must have turned into ashes, thought the crowd. But the result was different.
Everyone saw a figure retreating rapidly in the midst of the flames.
He didn't turn into ashes. His corpse is still there. How astonishing! That little boy is really strong. He's facing a godly emperor's attack and he's still alive. It's a miracle. Almost everyone thought that Lu Ming had died and left behind a corpse. A godly emperor, a cultivator of the fifth godly emperor layer, had faced a godly emperor's attack. How could he not die? There was no way he was still alive. They all thought that Lu Ming was already dead. What surprised them the most was that Lu Ming's corpse was still alive. If it were anyone else, they would definitely end up with their body and soul destroyed. But in the next moment, everyone's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. The retreating figure was indeed Lu Ming. However, he did not die. After retreating tens of thousands of meters, he successfully stabilized his body. Boom! The aura on Lu Ming's body was still exuberant and full of vitality. There were only a few burns on his body, but they were recovering quickly. Other than that, there were no signs of serious injuries. How is this possible? This was the only thought left in everyone's mind. Initially, they thought that it was already a miracle that Lu Ming could withstand a celestial emperor's attack and still retain his corpse. But now, Lu Ming had completely shattered their understanding. Not only was Lu Ming fine, he didn't even seem to be seriously injured. He had only suffered some superficial wounds. Impossible. This is impossible.
It must have been a casual attack from the Divine Emperor, and he didn't use much strength.
The youth from the Dry Li sect shook his head like a rattle drum. He simply couldn't believe that Lu Ming was so strong. The Celestial Emperor from the Dry Li sect also became serious. He was well aware of how powerful that move was. Although that move wasn't his strongest move, it was no small matter. It could kill a large number of quasi-emperors, but it couldn't do anything to Lu Ming. Lu Ming's battle strength shocked him. The battle strength of a celestial emperor is only a zo. Come, let me see your strongest battle strength. Lu Ming turned his head and looked at the celestial emperor, his battle intent soaring to the sky. Lu Ming issued a challenge to a celestial emperor. This was a celestial emperor in his prime. Lu Ming wanted to see how big the gap was between him and a celestial emperor in his prime. In the past, if Lu Ming dared to challenge a divine emperor, everyone would be laughing their heads off and would not be stingy with their ridicule. But now, no one ridiculed him. No matter what, Lu Ming had just resisted a celestial emperor's attack. He was already strong enough to challenge a celestial emperor. At that moment, the people who had just been fighting stopped and looked at each other. They were all looking at Lu Ming.
A cultivator of the fifth godly emperor layer was challenging a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer. That kind of thing was extremely rare.
They wanted to see how strong Lu Ming was. If you want to challenge me, you should be prepared to be killed by me. It feels good to be able to kill a peerless genius. The celestial emperor of the Dry Li sect had his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were filled with flames. A furnace surrounded his body. Clearly, he had used his true strength. He took a step forwards and appeared not far from Lu Ming. The celestial emperors on Zhonglabang's side and the celestial emperors of the Earth Origin sect also stopped fighting and looked at Lu Ming. As celestial emperors, they knew the difference between a celestial emperor and a celestial emperor. They were also curious to see how Lu Ming, a mere cultivator of the fifth godly emperor layer, could compete with a celestial emperor. Did he not know the immensity of heaven and earth? Or did he really have that kind of strength? Come. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with battle intent. His body's cells were trembling. Each of his cells was bursting with strength. 60 trillion celestial emperor's strength had condensed into a terrifying strength. The battle incantation had increased his fighting strength by 5 times. Lu Ming's fighting strength had reached the peak. He didn't immediately use the stone beads. He wanted to rely on his own strength to fight against a celestial emperor. When facing a strong opponent, the pressure could also stimulate his potential. Boom! Lu Ming made the first move. His body moved and the air exploded. The void trembled as he quickly approached the celestial emperor of the Qianli sect. He punched out with both fists, activating the power of various secret techniques. Although all the secret techniques were hidden, they weren't weak at all. Once an expert made a move, it was obvious whether they were strong or not. The power of Lu Ming's attack made the celestial emperor of the Qianli sect narrow his eyes slightly.
This kind of power had already reached the threshold of a celestial emperor. Some ordinary races weren't as strong when they had just broken through to the celestial emperor layer. Suppress him. The celestial emperor of the Qianli sect shouted coldly. He pressed down with his hand and divine power surged. A huge furnace formed and blasted toward Lu Ming. This furnace was even more majestic, more solid, and more powerful than the previous one. Dong, dong, dong. Lu Ming's fists continuously bombarded the furnace, causing earth-shattering explosions. Every explosion was like a planet exploding. Terrifying energy and terrifying flames swept out in all directions. Scorching heat waves were emitted one after another. The people of the three major forces had no choice but to retreat to avoid the heat waves. Chapter 37-31. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had thrown out dozens of punches, bombarding the furnace. Finally, there was a loud bang and the furnace exploded. Lu Ming retreated rapidly. However, Lu Ming wasn't seriously injured. He only had some light injuries that were quickly recovering. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Previously, Lu Ming could withstand the Divine Emperor's attack head-on because the Divine Emperor did not use much strength. However, the Divine Emperor of the Qianli sect had obviously used a lot of strength in the earlier attack. One could tell from the power that it was very shocking. However, it was still blocked by Lu Ming. Lu Ming really had the qualifications to challenge the Divine Emperor. A 5th-level Divine Lord actually had such combat strength. It was unheard of. It was simply heaven-defying. Again. Lu Ming let out a long roar. He stepped into the void and charged toward the Divine Emperor of the Qianli sect once again. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The Divine Emperor was enraged. With a cold shout, he turned into a ball of fire and charged towards Lu Ming. He used all his strength. His entire body was enveloped by a red furnace. With a wave of his hand, numerous flaming furnaces formed and charged towards Lu Ming. This was his secret technique. Whether it was the divine power of the origin or the shackles, it had reached a shocking level. Its power was shocking. It had the power to burn the universe and destroy the starry sky. Lu Ming used all his strength to resist. Explosions rang out continuously. It had to be said that a divine emperor at his peak was extremely powerful. He completely suppressed Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming fought with all his strength, he was still no match for him. He was completely at a disadvantage and kept retreating. Boom! In a moment of carelessness, his chest was hit by a furnace. The sound of bones breaking could be heard. A large piece of his chest exploded and a terrifying flame kept burning. Lu Ming coughed up blood and retreated. The potential in his cells was constantly stimulated, healing his injuries. However, the Divine Emperor wouldn't give him a chance to recover. He charged towards Lu Ming again and launched a torrential attack. Lu Ming retreated continuously, completely at a disadvantage. This kid is going to be defeated. Fortunately, he's still not a match for the Divine Emperor. He's not that heaven-defying. Many people breathed a sigh of relief. 5th-level Divine Lord, to be able to battle with a Divine Emperor to this extent, it was already extremely heaven-defying. They had never heard of it before. If he could truly contend with a Divine Emperor, that would be too terrifying. Seeing that Lu Ming was about to be defeated, they finally felt a little better in their hearts. Otherwise, wouldn't they be too trashy compared to Lu Ming? Not good. Elder Feng, go and help Brother Lu. Jiang Libang's face turned ugly as he quickly sent a message to the deity emperor he brought with him, asking him to help Lu Ming. However, the deity emperor from the Earth Origin sect had his eyes on this deity emperor. When he moved, the deity emperor moved as well. Neither of them could do anything to the other. That brat is overestimating himself and wants to challenge the divine emperor. Let's just wait and see. The deity emperor from the Earth Origin sect said coldly. Damn it! Jiang Libang shouted angrily, but there was nothing he could do. He was already at a disadvantage. Even if he wanted to save Lu Ming, he was powerless. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and the deity emperor from the Qianli sect had exchanged dozens of blows. During this time, Lu Ming was hit twice in a row and was severely injured. The strong pressure made Lu Ming's blood boil. Every cell in his body was trembling as a steady stream of potential was stimulated. It's about time, Lu Ming muttered. At this stage of the battle, Lu Ming's potential had been suppressed to a minimum for the time being. Bas! At this time,
Lu Ming activated the string of stone beads. The 2 stone beads flew out and pressed down on the deity emperor from the Qianli sect. Under the strong pressure, the deity emperor from the Qianli sect stiffened and his expression changed. The gravity of the 2 stone beads had a great impact on him. Kill. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Ming charged forward. Boom. Boom. The 2 of them exchanged a few blows. This time, both of them were pushed back. This time, the deity emperor from the Qianli sect was suppressed by the gravity. He had to divert a portion of his divine power to resist the gravity, so his strength was greatly reduced. Lu Ming closed the distance between the 2. What a mysterious treasure. Do you think you can fight me with just one treasure? Watch me destroy your treasure. The deity emperor from the Qianli sect shouted coldly. He charged forward against the gravity and waved his hands. 2 furnaces flew out and hit the stone beads. With 2 clangs, the stone beads were sent flying, but nothing happened to them. Under the control of Lu Ming, they flew back. The strong gravity continued to envelop the deity emperor from the Qianli sect. Lu Ming charged forward and fought with the deity emperor from the Qianli sect. For a moment, the 2 of them were evenly matched and neither of them could do anything to the other. They exchanged dozens of blows in a row. How is this possible? The people from the Qianli sect had ugly expressions. They did not expect Lu Ming to be able to resist a deity emperor. Zhang Libang and the others were overjoyed. This way, they would not be at a disadvantage against a deity emperor. It would be difficult for the Qianli sect and the Earth Origin sect to deal with them. This was because a deity emperor could easily kill anyone below the deity emperor realm. No matter which deity emperor it was, they would be in danger if they attacked anyone below the deity emperor realm. Previously, they had 2 deity emperors who could completely suppress the deity emperor on Zhang Libang's side. He would not be able to attack and would even be killed. But now, with the appearance of Lu Ming, the situation had changed. Boom. Lu Ming exchanged a few blows with the deity emperor from the Qianli sect. The 2 of them retreated several hundred miles away from each other and did not continue to attack. Lu Ming had the stone beads and the deity emperor from the Qianli sect could not do anything to Lu Ming. But Lu Ming could not do anything to his opponent either. If they continued to fight, it would be difficult to determine the winner. It seems like you can't do anything to me. My recovery ability is very strong. If I risk getting injured, I'm afraid your Qianli sect will suffer a great loss. Lu Ming said with a smile. His words made the Qianli sect's people pale, especially the young man from the Qianli sect. His face turned ugly and even showed some fear. Indeed, if Lu Ming risked getting injured to kill them, the Qianli sect's deity emperor might not be able to block him completely. In that case, he would be in danger. Good, very good. The young man from the Qianli sect gritted his teeth and glared at Lu Ming and Zhang Libang. He said, Zhang Libang, you're lucky today to have the help of an expert. We still have a long way to go. Let's go. He knew that he could not do anything to Zhang Libang today and could only retreat. As soon as he finished speaking, the people from the Qianli sect gathered together and retreated. Since the people from the Qianli sect were about to leave, the people from the Earth Origin sect naturally would not stay and left one after another. After a while, the people from the Qianli sect and the Earth Origin sect had all left. Brother Lu, thank you. Zhang Libang came over and thanked Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with shock, envy and horror. Chapter 37-32. Zhang Libang found it hard to calm down. It wasn't that he had never seen a monstrous genius before, but a monstrous genius like Lu Ming was something he had never seen before. Previously, he had invited Lu Ming to the Tianyue Divine Kingdom because he was interested in Lu Ming's combat power. Lu Ming could easily defeat 4 quasi-emperors. Given his combat power, he would definitely be of help to him if he entered the ruins of the Tianyue Divine Kingdom. Previously, they had learned that there was something sinister in the Heavenly Yu Divine Kingdom's ruins. If a Divine Emperor expert were to enter, it would probably trigger the evil. Therefore, they didn't dare to bring a Divine Emperor expert in. Even if they did, they would seal their own cultivation in advance. Unless it was a last resort, they wouldn't break their own seal. That was why they needed Lu Ming. He didn't expect to get Lu Ming to come this time. Lu Ming had saved his life. His heart was filled with emotions. Lu Ming was becoming more and more mysterious in his heart. A 5th-level divine monarch who can contend against a divine emperor. Is there anyone in the top 10 major races with such combat strength? Could he be a genius from the heavenly palace? Thinking of this, Zhang Lebang's heart was beating wildly. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. The geniuses from the heavenly palace would also travel in the chaotic universe. Their purpose was to train and hone their skills. They would secretly train in the chaotic universe and hide their identity. However, the geniuses from the heavenly palace were incomparably terrifying. They defeated the strong with unparalleled combat strength. The other geniuses were like clay chickens and pottery dogs in front of them. They were invincible among their peers, peerless in their generation. Obviously, Lu Ming had such characteristics. That was why Zhang Lebang thought of the heavenly palace. If he was really from the heavenly palace, then he would make friends with him now. The smile on Zhang Lebang's face became wider and he became more polite to Lu Ming. Brother Zhang, you don't have to be so polite. Lu Ming smiled casually. Brother Mu, we're going to the capital of the heavenly Yu divine kingdom now. How about we go together? Zhang Lebang said. Coincidentally, I'm also going to the capital of the heavenly Yu divine kingdom. Let's go together. Lu Ming said. Zhang Lebang and the others were overjoyed. With a great expert like Lu Ming by their side, their strength was greatly increased. They immediately set out and continued to move along the west. Nothing unexpected happened along the way. A day later, a huge city appeared before them. The city was tall and majestic, like an ancient giant beast lying on the ground. Even from afar, one could feel a powerful aura from it. This was the capital of the heavenly Yu divine kingdom. However, the city gate was to be closed. Lu Ming and the rest were not the first to arrive. When they arrived, people from other forces had already arrived. Why don't you go in? Someone asked about the powers that had arrived first. The city gates are tightly shut. It's difficult to enter. The ice moon vine. Someone to the answer to the T's to enter this herd. Since we can't enter through the city gates, we might as well fly in from above the city. S2's. Teat. S to the U. The Frost Moon Vine race member replied coldly. Those words shocked Zhang Lebang, Lu Ming, and the others. Obviously, it would be dangerous to enter from the top of the city. Otherwise, the Ice Moon Vine would have entered from the sky. Try the city gate. Zhang Lebang transmitted his voice to his subordinates. Immediately, more than a dozen quasi-emperor experts flew toward the city gate. Dazzling divine light burst out and bombarded the city gate. Boom boom boom. The city gate rumbled but did not break. It was as steady as Mount Tai. The quasi-emperors continued to attack with all their might, but it was useless. There were powerful formations on the city gates and city walls. As soon as they attacked, runes would appear on them and block their attacks. Zhang Lebang continued to send people. Even the divine emperor experts were not able to break the city gate. I'm afraid 1 or 2 divine emperors won't be able to break the city gate. Let's wait for the other forces to arrive and attack together. A divine emperor from the Ice Moon Vine race said. Zhang Lebang could only order his men to retreat and wait here. As time passed, more and more people arrived. Suddenly, Zhang Lebang's eyes flashed with cold killing intent as he looked in a direction. On the other side, the Chenli sect and the Earth Origin sect came together. The people from the Chenli sect and the Earth Origin sect also looked at Zhang Lebang, Lu Ming, and the others coldly. Especially when they looked at Lu Ming, their eyes were filled with seriousness. A few days later, all the forces that had entered the heavenly eclipse divine nation ruins had arrived. There were a total of 8 major forces and each of them had a divine emperor. Why are there only so few people from the heavenly Acripoid tribe? Could it be that the others have found other opportunities and did not come to the heavenly eclipse divine nation ruins to compete with us? Many people looked at the few people from the heavenly Acripoid tribe and discussed among themselves. Lu Ming had killed a large number of people from the heavenly Acripoid tribe. However, some of them had scattered and only a small number of them remained. At this moment, the people from the heavenly Acripoid tribe had ugly expressions. Are the people from the heavenly Acripoid tribe not coming? Yu Chong from the Icy Moonvine tribe looked at the people from the heavenly Acripoid tribe and asked. We don't know. We can't contact young Master Huang Feng. We can't even contact the 2 divine emperors. An old man from the heavenly Acripoid tribe said anxiously. Can't contact them? The others looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They could not contact them.
They were either trapped in a place that was isolated from the outside world or they were all dead. However, they could not contact so many people. It was more likely that they were all dead, including the two divine emperors. Thinking of this, many people gasped in shock. Even the divine emperors were dead. What had they encountered? Could it be that they had encountered an octopus monster? Or were there other dangers? Before entering, they had heard that there were evil spirits here and divine emperors were not allowed to enter. Could it be true? Forget it. Let's attack first and break open the gates of the city. We'll get the opportunities inside and then leave this place. Yu Cheng said. All right. Divine emperors from the major forces, let's attack. One of the divine emperors stepped forward. Then, the other divine emperors stepped forward. There were a total of 8 divine emperors from the 8 major forces. Some people knew that there might be more than one divine emperor from the major forces, but they did not say anything. Lu Ming naturally would not attack. Boom. The 8 divine emperors attacked together. 8 terrifying attacks blasted towards the gates of the city. Violent explosions were heard. Runes appeared on the city gates and the city walls to resist the attacks. However, the combined attacks of the 8 divine emperors were too powerful. The gates of the city shook more and more violently. The runes on the city walls flashed continuously. At first, it was very bright, but soon, the light began to dim. An hour later, bang, bang. The runes on the city gate continued to explode, emitting banging sounds. After a short while, the runes on the city gate disappeared without a trace. Without the protection of the Grand Formation, the city gates could not withstand the attacks of the 8 divine emperors. Boom! With a loud bang, the city gates exploded into pieces. Chapter 37-33. The city gates exploded. One could clearly see the scene inside the city. Inside the city, the light was very dim. One could see one ancient building after another. Go! Immediately, someone moved, rushing into the city. In a blink of an eye, they entered the city. There was no abnormality at all. There was no danger. The others set their minds at ease. They rushed into the city one after another. Lu Ming, Jiang Lebang, they all also rushed into the city. Swoosh! Swoosh! Figures flashing, everyone spread out, flying toward those buildings. If there were lucky chances, it would definitely be inside these buildings. Lu Ming also flew toward a huge building. There were also over a dozen other people together with Lu Ming. These people came from various different factions. What was different was that there were people from the Qianli sect and Earth Origin sect among them. When they saw Lu Ming, they revealed looks of horror, figures flashing, and directly leaving. The remaining people did not know Lu Ming's strength. Lu Ming could not be bothered with these people and rushed toward a great hall. Brat, a 5th-level divine lord also dares to join in the fun? Get lost for me! A burly man with a head full of red hair shouted coldly, a palm leaf-like enormous palm slapping over toward Lu Ming. This burly man's strength was not weak, having a 9th-level divine lord cultivation. If this slap landed, with Lu Ming's 5th-level divine lord cultivation, there was only death. His mouth was telling Lu Ming to get lost, but his move was a killing move, wanting to put Lu Ming to death. The means could be said to not be ruthless. This brat is dead for sure. When the others saw this scene, they revealed gloating smiles. But their smiles disappeared in the next instant. Fierce winds howled. The red-haired burly man's palm was about to hit Lu Ming. The one who gets lost is you. Lu Ming gave a cold cry, slapping out with a backhand. He clearly slapped out from behind, but it arrived first despite launching later. Before the red-haired burly man's slap hit him, a slap landed on the red-haired burly man's face. Pa! A crisp slap rang out, followed by a miserable shriek. The red-haired man's body flew out like a cannonball, smashing through several walls before crashing to the ground. He coughed up large mouthfuls of blood, and his body twitched a few times before he stopped breathing. He was slapped to death by Lu Ming. A 9th-level divine lord existence was killed just like that. The others sucked in a breath of cold air, their faces full of horror. They were filled with lingering fear, and some of them broke out in cold sweat. Some people had the same idea as the red-haired burly man, thinking that Lu Ming, a 5th-level divine lord stinking bug, also came to join in the fun. They wanted to smack Lu Ming to death with one slap. It was just that the red-haired man was a step faster. If they had made a move earlier, they would have been the ones to die.
Thinking of this, they felt a lingering fear. Go! These people only had one thought in their minds, and that was to avoid encountering Lu Ming. With Lu Ming's battle prowess, if he encountered any treasures, how could they have a share? All of a sudden, there was only Lu Ming alone left in this building. Lu Ming smiled. This was good too. Lu Ming entered the Great Hall and discovered that the furnishings in the Great Hall were very complete. It was just that some things were already decaying. Lu Ming looked around carefully and discovered that there were only a few things that were still useful. Lu Ming put them away. Then, he searched around again and did not discover anything. Lu Ming left this place and headed for another building. Following that, he searched several buildings in a row and did not discover anything. That is, suddenly, Lu Ming felt that there were waves of gloomy and cold aura coming from ahead. Lu Ming flew forward and discovered that there were actually no buildings in front, but there was a huge pit. The pit was circular in shape, like a circular black hole, with a diameter of 100 miles. The waves of gloomy and cold aura were emitted from inside the pit. At the edge of the pit, there were already some other people. These people looked at the pit curiously. Why would there be such a pit here? It was too discordant. This was the capital of Sky Pass Divine Nation. There were magnificent buildings everywhere. However, in the middle of the buildings, why would there be such a huge pit? This was too abrupt, too discordant, and too abnormal. What's down there? This is strange. This place should be a building. Why would there be such a huge pit? Do you want to go down and take a look? This pit looks abnormal. I feel that it's very sinister. If you want to go down, why don't you go down first? Everyone was discussing. In the end, of course, no one dared to go down rashly. In the end, someone took out a divine artifact and controlled it to fly into the pit. After a while, the divine artifact flew out without any abnormalities. There's nothing abnormal. Seems like it's just an ordinary pit. That's true. It's just that the Sky Pass Divine Nations people had a special layout. They dug a pit here. Everyone shook their heads. Some people wanted to leave. Suddenly, roar. In the pit, a tyrannical roar came out. Everyone was shocked. Did you guys hear that? There seems to be a roar coming out from the pit. I heard it too. Roar. At this time, another roar came out. It became clearer and clearer. Roar. Immediately after, roars sounded out continuously, filled with tyranny, seemingly very crazy. With this, many people's faces changed, retreating one after another. This sound definitely came out from the pit. Huff. The next instant, energy flourished in the pit. Then one figure after another suddenly rushed out. These figures were in human form, but their bodies were shriveled, like skeletons. Their skin had a metallic luster, their eyes filled with a tyrannical light. Dried corpses. These living beings looked just like dried corpses. The moment they rushed out, they emitted a series of roars, pouncing over toward Lu Ming and the rest, their speed astonishingly swift. Kill! Everyone also launched a counterattack, unleashing one attack after another. A streak of dazzling sword light chopped onto a dried corpse, but it emitted a sound of metal clashing. Sparks flew everywhere, but it did not cut through the dried corpse's defense. This dried corpse roared and rushed over, its claws like divine weapons, clawing and tearing. Poowork. Flesh and blood splattered. This 8th-level Divine Lord powerhouse was torn into 2 halves, dying on the spot. These dried corpses even grabbed this person's corpse and started gnawing. The scene was terrifying. Ah! Miserable cries came out continuously. In an instant, more than 10 experts were killed. These experts were all 9th-level Divine Lord and 8th-level Divine Lord existences. But facing these dried corpses, they were powerless and could only be slaughtered. They could not even break through these dried corpses' defenses. There were also dried corpses that rushed toward Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming's palm was like a blade, chopping onto a dried corpse, emitting a loud bang. Lu Ming felt like he chopped onto a divine weapon. However, no matter how hard a divine weapon was, it could not stop Lu Ming too. Finally, this dried corpse exploded with a bang. Bang! 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 Lu Ming's palm waved repeatedly, attacking over a dozen moves in a row. Each move, there was a dried corpse that was killed. Chapter 37-34. Other than Lu Ming, there was another person who was extremely powerful. With a wave of his hand, he killed dozens of dried corpses. This person was the divine emperor of Qianli sect.
Other than the two of them, the others did not have it easy.
These dried corpses were not afraid of death, and their defense was extremely terrifying. Even quasi-emperors were not their match and could only barely protect themselves. Those below quasi-emperors could only be killed. Even if there was Lu Ming and the divine emperor expert, it was useless because there were too many dried corpses in the pit and they were constantly rushing out. They killed hundreds of dried corpses and thousands of dried corpses rushed out from the pit. Retreat! Retreat! Those quasi-emperors and those below quasi-emperors did not dare to stay and frantically retreated far away from this place. Only when they were tens of thousands of miles away did the dried corpses stop chasing. The capital of Heavenly Yu Divine Nation was incomparably huge and vast. No one knew how many miles it was wide. Lu Ming did not stay, and after killing some dried corpses, he also left far away. There's something wrong with this pit. It suddenly appeared in the capital of Heavenly Yu Divine Nation, and there are so many dried corpses inside. Where did these dried corpses come from? Could they be people of Heavenly Yu Divine Nation? Lu Ming's mind turned one thought after another. This was very likely. Previously, he had continuously explored several magnificent buildings and found that there was not a single person inside, nor were there any corpses left behind. This was very abnormal. Even if the people of Heavenly Yu Divine Nation were killed, there should be corpses left behind. But he did not see any. Could it be that the dried corpses in the pit were people of Heavenly Yu Divine Nation? But why did the people of Heavenly Yu Divine Nation run into a pit and become ferocious dried corpses? Could it be related to the Heaven Patroller of the Heavenly Palace? Did the Heaven Patroller kill these people and refine them? Very likely. Lu Ming felt a chill just thinking about it. If it was really done by the Heaven Patroller, then the Heaven Patroller's methods were really vicious. Lu Ming thought as he hurried towards the depths of Heavenly Yu Divine Nation. Roar!
Lu Ming was hurrying on his way when he suddenly heard a roar coming from ahead.
At the same time, it was accompanied by the sounds of an intense battle and miserable screams. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly.
This was because this roar was extremely similar to the roars of the mummies from before. However, Lu Ming was already far away from the pit.
How could there be a roar in front of him? Could it be that there was more than one pit ahead? Lu Ming was curious. He restrained his aura and rushed forward. Not long after, Lu Ming's eyes widened. Ahead, in the middle of the many buildings, a crater suddenly appeared. It emitted a cold aura, and corpses continuously rushed out of the crater. It was almost the same as what Lu Ming had encountered before. Sure enough, there was more than one pit. Many people were killed. Others frantically fled, leaving this place. Fortunately, after these corpses chased for a short distance, they stopped and returned to the pit.
Lu Ming frowned and left with a heavy heart.
After walking for a while, he met other people and learned a shocking piece of news from them. In the capital of Skyshine Empire, there were many pits like this everywhere. So far, at least a dozen of them had been found. In each pit, there were a shocking number of corpses. Sure enough, it's almost the same as what I guessed. Could it be that the people of Skyshine Empire have all been turned into corpses? Lu Ming frowned. If I'm not wrong, this is a large array. Gu Mo's voice sounded. Large array. That's right. Someone set up a great array in the Heavenly Yu Divine Nation. It's those pits that cover the entire Heavenly Yu Divine Nation. Then, after killing the people of the Heavenly Yu Divine Nation, they threw them into those pits. As time passes, they will be refined into dried corpses, never to be reincarnated, and suffer the pain of purgatory.
Gu Mo said. What a ruthless method.
Even with Lu Ming's temperament, he felt a chill in his heart.
This method was too vicious. Killing someone was nothing out of the ordinary in the desolate universe. But to refine someone into a mummy after killing them, this sort of method was truly outrageous.
This is obviously the method of the Heaven Patroller.
It's normal for the Heavenly Palace to do such a thing.
There are many more ruthless things that can be found everywhere. It's just that no one knows about it.
Or even if they knew, they wouldn't dare to say it.
Gu Mo sneered. He seemed to be unhappy with the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming was silent for a while.
Then, he did not speak and continued to move forward.
Slowly, everyone figured out the pattern. As long as they didn't get close to the pits, the corpses wouldn't rush out and nothing would happen. Everyone distanced themselves from the pits and explored the buildings. However, Even more people were heading towards the depths of the sky transcendence divine nation. This was because they didn't find any valuable treasures in the buildings outside. The capital of a country was naturally the core of the palace. Only there would be treasures and opportunities. Lu Ming's speed was very fast. He flew past many magnificent buildings. Soon, he arrived at the center of the capital of the Tianyu kingdom. This was also where the palace was located. However, this place was in a mess. Many magnificent buildings had collapsed and were full of potholes. It was obvious that there were traces of a great battle. That is, suddenly, Lu Ming saw a collapsed building filled with multicolored light. In this dusky environment, it was especially conspicuous. I want to eat. There are treasures, I want to eat. Xueqi on his wrist also squirmed and two big eyes appeared. It looked in that direction with greed. There. Is there a divine weapon? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. However, that multicolored light was very obvious. Since Lu Ming saw it, others naturally also saw it. Many people thought that there were treasures and flew in that direction. Let's go. Lu Ming's figure moved and also rushed in that direction. It was a collapsed palace. On the ground of the palace, there was a long spear. This spear was silvery white and constantly emitted multicolored light. Even from far away, there was a chill coming from it. This chill was very terrifying. Many 8th and 9th level divine lords shuddered all over, laying down a layer of frost on their bodies. Even their blood was about to be frozen. Only quasi-emperors could barely block it with their divine power. Lu Ming saw that the spear had many nicks. It had clearly experienced a great battle and was damaged. Even so, this spear still gave off an indescribable aura. It was vast and unfathomable. This treasure was definitely a peak treasure. Even if it was damaged, it was still a peak treasure. It was priceless. I want to eat, I want to eat. Xueqi couldn't endure it any longer. It turned into a huge metal ball and revealed a mouth full of sharp teeth. It gnashed its teeth, deep desire in its eyes. I found this spear first. It's mine. Someone roared and took the initiative to pounce on the spear. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.